And welcome back to our third week of Fourth Wing. Wow. Nice scream. That was good.
Thanks.
We are very excited about this one. Fourth Wing is a journey in and of itself. This is the week where I don't know. The story already got going, but it's like getting good now, you know?
I feel like there's so much that actually happens in this week, whereas the last 2 weeks it's been like center focused on one main event. This one we have at least like four big things that happen. So that's pretty exciting.
Yes. And instead of just like talking about a bunch of stuff, some stuff actually happens. So that's great.
Yeah.
So do you have a recap that you'd like to jump us into?
Yes, ma'am.
Let's go.
Let's go. So the mat challenges are back, and after 2 successful victories without poisoning her opponents, Violet figures out who her third will be. Jack fucking Barlow. He's ruthless, but Violet proves she's not the easy target he thought she'd be. She holds her own and makes it clear she's not going down without a fight. Shortly after her near-death challenge, Taryn and Andarna decide she's finally ready to begin channeling, which means her signet should be around the corner, right? Then there's Xaden. Their relationship has gone from straight-up enemies to something way more complicated. The tension between them is sizzling, and Xaden's gone from keeping his distance to watching over her like a hawk. There's definitely something happening between them, but with trust still on shaky grounds, Violet isn't sure where it's headed. Meanwhile, squad battles are heating up. Violet's squad is getting hit with intense combat challenges, and she's proving that she's more than just brains. She's got the strategy and determination to keep her team in the fight, even when the stakes are high and the competition is fierce. Next up, War Games kick off. It's an all-out high-stakes competition where squads go head-to-head in full-scale combat simulations. Violet's got everything to prove. And with her squad's survival on the line, she's got to lead them through the chaos and come out on top.
Whoop whoop. Whoop whoop. Yeah. All right. So, chapter 21. We jump right into her getting used to the fact that Liam is now her shadow,
Her bodyguard.
her bodyguard. It's interesting because that he would assign someone else to do it instead of doing it himself. Do you think this is something where Xaden's just too busy, or he really doesn't want to be around her that much?
I think part of it is he wants to keep that distance, but given ranking and how everyone perceives ranking in Beskayeth, and especially in the Writers Quadrant, I think it's more so for Violet's benefit, because the last thing you want is everyone seeing you around with the wing leader thinking you're sleeping your way to safety.
That's true. Although it does not take people very long to start like being like, this is your guard dog. You basically can't survive without Liam next to you. It literally happens like, I don't know, within a few pages, right?
A couple pages later,
Yeah.
but you know.
So in the beginning, they're going to the archive, yes?
Yes.
And that's a super interesting tidbit.
Yeah, they're heading off to the archives because since Violet can no longer do breakfast duty, she has picked up archive duty. And one of the things that they grab when they're going to the archives, other than just like books and all that some of the writers might want, is any details on not modern day, but current day like occurrences at the outposts to bring to Professor
Markham, I think.
Markham, for battle brief. And we get a very interesting scene when it comes to that.
Yeah, they get a report for, I think it's what the town is, Somerton.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially it's just another attack where the Griffins it would have been too high of altitude, or it would have been high altitude for Griffins. And it was a village raid, I believe.
Yes. So the exact quote that they have for this was, "The conditions at Somerton are a particular concern. A village was ransacked and a supply convoy looted last night." Now they're reading this because it like fell off the cart that they were walking with.
Mm.
And the first thing Violet did was check to see if it was classified. Because obviously, if it's classified, we're not going to read it. Violet's still somewhat of a goody two shoes. Not completely, but she knows her place. Um, and she like thoroughly checks to make sure it's not classified, and that's important.
Yep. And so they read it, and it's, I mean, no big deal kind of thing. They read it and they're like, okay, we'll talk about that in battle brief. They also talk briefly about what it's like to be a marked one. And Violet learns all about what it's like for riders, or for them to be, or for that they were conscripted, or why they were conscripted into the Riders Cadre. Sorry, I'm tripping all over my words.
Very good.
And so she learns that there's 107 of them, and she didn't realize this. She thought that it was just the kids of the like leaders. She didn't realize that it was like all of the rebellion children. And then she learns that the youngest is 6 years old and was born with the rebellion mark. That feels like it's going to be important. I don't know that I've seen it be important yet, but it feels like it's important.
Yeah, that's way too interesting of a detail for it not to come back around later on.
Mm-hmm.
However, is this series going to span 14 more years? Timeline wise, who knows?
My
Because
goodness.
you can't get drafted, at least, to Basgiath until you're 20.
Not yet.
Not yet. But she's also only 6. I would hope they're not drafting small children.
Yeah. I could see it being like drafting like 15-year-olds.
If a dragon would even bond to them, though.
That's true.
That's the whole other issue.
That's true. And then we kind of learn there's this kind of weird thing where we learn that there's something that Xaden hasn't told her about the marked ones. Like, because Liam goes, "Oh, you don't know?" And then it kind of like moves on.
Yeah, and he like quickly brushes it off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this, yeah. Hold on. Sorry, oh yeah. It's all right. Here's a quote. It's all right that you ask. Someone should know. Someone should remember. His shoulders rise and fall as he breathes deeply. Anyway, it's hard for you. Is it hard for you to be in here, meaning the archives? Or is it more of a comfort thing? He quickly is like, yeah, life sucks. Anyways, let's stop talking about this, please.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We also learned that Liam and Xaden were fostered together, and that's why they have such a close relationship. And then, of course, Violet is like, "What? You were fostered?" And then she's like, "Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that." And then we learn that Violet really hasn't thought much about what happened to, like, the rebellion children. Like, she really hasn't thought about this at all.
Well, I think beyond her thinking about it, it's not talked about in Navarre.
Mm-hmm.
They're shunned out. The only reason why they're even thought of in general is because they are forced into conscription on their 20th once they're 20. Or it's open, however this magical realm works. If it weren't for that, I don't think that any of them would be a blip on anybody in Navarre's radars.
Agreed. Do you have anything else for while they're in the archive?
Other than the fact that you can totally tell that Liam is falling for Genesia, but
Yeah.
or however you pronounce her name.
Jasenia. Yeah.
Jasenia, there we go. I can't think
And
straight right now, y'all.
he can sign. Like he can do sign
He
language.
can sign. Mm-hmm. That's a cute little detail.
Mm-hmm. It is. It is a cute little detail. And then I think that little section ends with Taryn getting hungry and Violet being able to feel it.
Yeah, she was asking about Indarna and how Indarna was doing, because the last we saw, Indarna had lent her little baby Feathertail powers to Violet so she could escape death. And so she was asking about Indarna after feeling how terribly hungry Taryn is. And then Taryn going, you need to eat too, so shut the fuck up.
Mm-hmm. So then they go to where? Battle Brief? Where is it going?
Are they?
Or breakfast?
Somewhere. They are somewhere. We have Rhiannon. And a common, like, just point of talk for this chapter is going to be wanting to manifest this magic. Sorry. Mm-hmm. More specifically, getting their signets. Rhiannon's exact quote being, "I want to be like the cool kids."
Mm-hmm. They're all like frustrated and just waiting and like, this sucks. Why haven't I manifested yet? And it's kind of like one of those things where the dragon has to decide that they're ready. So like it is actually something that they haven't displayed yet. So it is kind of like a personal like failing in a way that they haven't manifested yet. So they're kind of like in a weird spot.
Yeah, and as they're kind of walking through, you get that vibe that these are still kids, and even though they're in a war college, which is absolutely insane, they're talking and like boasting about their physics scores.
I also wrote,
as they're doing,
I wrote, kids are still tripping over themselves for Violet.
Yeah, and as they're doing this, people are still like running out of the way to get like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry, Sorrengail." And she's like, "It's fine. We're fine. I'm not going to get used to this." And Taryn's like, "They should be doing more. The fuck?"
Yeah.
This is what you deserve.
What does he say? They show the appropriate deference or whatever.
Appropriate. Yeah, appropriate level of deference.
Yeah.
To what they think I'll be, not who I am. Mm-hmm. That shows excellent forethought.
Yeah, I love that. Taryn is the best. I have never loved a character more.
Taryn is very much like Team Violet hardcore. Mm-hmm. If you thought that like Lilith or Rhiannon was her number one supporter, no, Taryn is.
You know that like...
And he will hate you for that. He will burn you if you say otherwise.
You know that like character, like that really scary like dad character of like a young like girl who's like really, really girly and playing soccer? That's Taryn. Like he rolls up in a minivan, aka saddle, and like acts all badass, and it like gets out of the minivan and it's like, "I will kill anybody who comes anywhere near my daughter." That's it.
And then looks down at the daughter like, "Okay, princess, have the best time ever."
Yeah, exactly. I'm thinking of the guy, I don't remember his name, Jason Statham. That's who I'm thinking of right now. Do you know who Jason Statham is? Yeah, that's who I'm thinking. I mean, I wouldn't want Jason Statham to play Taryn, but I'm just saying in this illusion, that's who I'm thinking of. Anyway.
Oh, this is great. I am now going to try to find some kind of fan art that's depicting Taryn as a soccer dad.
Exactly. That's literally like, he's a soccer dad. And he gets like a little bit annoyed too, but whatever. He lets her do her thing.
It's great.
Then Violet's scalp prickles.
Scalp prickling. Because guess who's watching her?
Xaden.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so he's very much like making sure that Liam's doing his job and everything's going according to plan as much as it can, given that they're fucking in the Riders Quadrant and anybody can basically drop down out of nowhere and stab you in the back, literally.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know if this is like farther down, but because I have just like notes here, but we learned that Xaden warded her door and she didn't know this. Because Liam says that he doesn't have to guard her at night because she's like, I'm surprised you don't sleep outside my door. And he's like, oh, no, you're protected at night. And she's like, what the heck? What? And he's like, oh, yeah, your door is warded. Oops.
Yeah. But even right before that, I have this highlighted because it's probably one of my favorite. We'll get to my like top favorite, I think, next week. But Xaden walks in and he immediately tells Violet, like, Ryerson's here. Figured, I hold up my middle finger and keep my eyes forward. Not that I don't like Liam, but I'm still pissed at Xaden for assigning him. Liam snorts and grins, flashing his dimples. And now he's glaring. Tell me, is it fun pissing off the most powerful rider in the quadrant?
Yep.
She goes, you could try it and find out for yourself. He goes, no thanks. I like to be alive.
Exactly. And, well, what is it? She's like, is this the scene where she, like, drops her quill under the page, or under the table, and Xaden, like, picks it up for her?
So this, I want to say this is still, it could be, like, very soon. Yeah. Like, a few minutes later, she drops the quill, and then he's like, whoop, here it is with the shadows.
Yeah.
I mean, again, they're just going back and forth. She goes, I don't need a fucking bodyguard. He goes, people are constantly trying to kill you.
And Rhiannon's like,
sure about that?
Yeah, they are.
And it's like, yeah, constant death threats. Like, come on. But we get into battle brief, and they don't talk about the scroll.
Surprise, surprise.
In fact, they talk about history, things that have already happened.
Yeah, they completely go, and then, so they say, Liam says, and I think it's interesting that this comes from Liam, just my classified readers, I think that's interesting, but he says, maybe it's classified, maybe we missed it, and she says, maybe.
Yeah, he asks, was the scroll marked classified? No, I respond just as quietly, but maybe I missed it. The battle map doesn't even show the activity near that mountain range. Yeah, he nods, scratching his quill against the parchment as he begins to take notes. It has to be. You missed it. Because, and right before this, like, Markham says, you know, nothing, it's been very quiet. The front lines are relatively quiet today, and we're going to take this opportunity to dissect the battle of Giant Fair? Gina Fair? And so even the fact that they're saying, like, hey, it's quiet, what are they hiding? For classified readers, you know what they're hiding.
And then it says...
And...
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, for the scroll to have not even been marked classified in the first place, who does the markings? Who's supposed to mark the scrolls? And did they want somebody to be on alert?
The scribes? Jasenia? I don't know. Who? I don't know. That's classified, right?
I have no idea.
It says,
Sure.
It also says our clearance isn't high enough, or maybe they haven't finished gathering all the information they need. That's like kind of like giving excuses, I think. So I don't know.
Yeah, she's trying, or it had to have been marked classified. I just missed it. But we know that Violet doesn't miss those things. She was trained to be a scribe. She doesn't miss those things.
I would assume if something was classified, it would be very, like, well marked.
Yeah, and the scroll wouldn't, like, easily unfold if it falls off a cart.
Yeah.
And I also doubt that they would hand it to first years going on archive duty.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so many unanswered questions with that one.
Mm-hmm.
Did somebody forget to mark it as classified? Who knows?
Also, it's kind of one of those things where, as a reader, you're like, well, it's just battle brief in college. Like, are they owed to talk about it? But they do. They talk about every battle. Like, that's what they do, right? So it is surprising.
Every battle that's basically in modern day because they want to keep them up to date. They want them thinking on their feet because especially the third years are going to be on the front lines next year.
Mm-hmm.
Like once they graduate, they go straight to those front lines. Mm-hmm. So they need to know the most current information. Mm-hmm. What has changed?
I don't know. So, chapter 22. We are in the sparring gym.
Chapter 22.
So Rhiannon and Violet are sparring, and it gets kind of like Violet's very distracted, not really like doing very well, not really paying attention.
No, she's like in her head talking to Taryn a lot. Mm-hmm. He almost let her hit the side of a mountain. Mm-hmm. She's not very happy. Mm-hmm. When does she get to start? When is he going to start channeling? Mm-hmm. He goes, "You're not ready to channel yet. Shut up and pay attention." Mm-hmm. And Rhiannon even calls out like, "You're distracted."
Mm-hmm. They talk about like her and Xaden. You know, what are you guys going to do after graduation? I don't know. They cover a lot of, like, general topics that people would be talking about as, like, that would be ongoing conversation. You know?
Yeah, and then something to note is that she is not wearing her armor right now. Mm-hmm. She's sparring against Rhiannon, and Rhiannon is taking it easy on her. Mm-hmm. And she is not wearing her vest. Mm-hmm. It's laying out to dry.
She also...
And this is also... Sorry, go.
I was going to say, she also says she doesn't really want to be taking out her anger on Rhiannon, so she's just kind of being, like, passive. Like, she's just being blah.
Yeah. This is the first time that Xaden comes up, and we don't have that tingling sensation in our scalp. Mm-hmm. He just walks up behind her and says she's not wrong. Referring to Rhiannon taking it easy on her.
Do we have that before he starts sparring? I can't remember.
What?
Does he come talk to her before he starts sparring with Garrick?
Hence why I think yes. Yes, because they're not distracted by Garrick yet.
Okay. And
him being...
There we go. I hear it. I see it.
He says it's just the very quick, like, she's not wrong as he's, like, walking over.
Got it, yep.
And she goes, go away unless you have something useful to say. Move faster. You'll be less likely to die. How's that for useful?
Such an ass.
The way you talk to him. What's he gonna do? Kill me? She is really taking the fact that, like, their dragons are bonded and mated, and therefore so are they, to mean that she can say whatever the fuck
she's safe at this point. Like, she's like, whatever.
At this point?
We are...
What the fuck are you going to do? Kill me?
We are in the same boat. Like, we are family now.
Sir, if I die, so do you. Mm-hmm. Hit me with your best shot.
They are stuck with each other, so there is no, like, no matter what they say, it's like it's not going to really damage each other because it is what it is. Like, it's changed. The dynamic is different now. And then they spar, and then this is when we learn that Violet is majorly attracted to Xaden. Like, she doesn't even describe Garrick very much, like, at all.
The exact quote in her head is, "Holy fucking hot."
Yeah. Yeah, and she goes on about it. On and on. About, so she, like, the exact paragraph, I have it all because I was like, wow, this is a long paragraph. Every edge of Zayden's body is honed like a weapon, all sharp lines and barely leashed power. His rebellion relic twists around his upper body and stands out against the deep bronze of his skin, accentuating every punch he throws and his stomach. I mean, how many muscles are there in the abdominals? His are so rigidly defined that I could probably count every single one if the rest of him wasn't so damn distracting. And he has one of the largest dragon relics I've ever seen. Mine consumes the skin between my shoulder blades, but Sigale's mark takes up his entire back. And I know exactly how his body feels on top of mind because of when they were sparring before. Just how much power, and then somebody smacks her with a Rhiannon smacks
Rhiannon,
her.
they're still like challenging each other on the mat. And then you really get Taryn going, serves you fucking right, bitch. Pay attention.
Well, and then Rhiannon goes, pay attention. And then she, like, goes, what are you doing? And then she, like, looks and she goes, oh. Oh.
That is, it sure is. And then you have Liam going, stop objectifying our wing leader. Is that what we're doing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's what we're doing. And this is such, like, you really get the sense that you are in, like, a chick flick right now. You're in a little rom-com. Mm-hmm. It's a teen film, and it is, oh, now we see, like, the hot guy love interest, and we're fully into him. Mm-hmm. And you can see it play out, like, oh, shit. Like, my world is now revolving around him in this moment.
Mm-hmm. And this is the first time where, like, she's mentioned him being attractive before, but this is the first time where she's been, like, drooling over him. And then she continues to drool over him in this section, like, in this section of reading, like, the whole time. Like, something changed.
Something has changed. She is feeling a different way. And then you get Dane going, if you guys are this easily distracted, we're fucked for squad battles. You can kiss any thoughts of visiting the front lines goodbye. So we now also figure out, like, whatever squad battles and the point of squad battles is, it takes the winning squad to an outpost on the front lines and they get hands-on experience for their squad. And this is also the first time Dating has really spoken to her or at her since Amber. Because he even says, get back to work, we have another half hour, Dane orders. I feel like he's talking directly to me, which would be the first thing he said since my memory got Amber killed. She got herself killed by breaking the codex, Taryn growls. Taryn does not like when Violet takes kills that do not belong to her.
Yes. And he...
even if it's not in a bragging way.
He also doesn't like when... Because I think he knows that she has a very, like, low tolerance for killing. And so I don't think he wants those kills on her conscience. You know what I'm saying? So, like, especially in this way, I think that she has Amber's kill on her conscience, and he wants to just take that out of her mind. Like, this is not... You're not responsible for this one. Like, don't even. But then Rhiannon knocks the wind out of Violet and knocks her on her back. And this is when Jack gets involved. Fucking Jack Barlow. Of course, when she's the most, what do you call it? Like, incapacitated. Like,
he comes around.
Yeah. Like, he waits.
And he comes around with a line of, and yet that is the rider Taryn chose. I'm starting to think he chose wrong, but considering I haven't seen you wield any powers, I bet you're thinking the same thing too, aren't you, Sorengale? Shouldn't you have twice the ability to channel with 2 dragons? Good sir. I'm gonna need you to take a fucking seat and get out of Violet's face.
How does one come right out the gate and insult the most powerful dragon in the quadrant?
I mean, at this point, I'm pretty sure I know how he does it.
Oh, also, I have a question. Just little side note. Later on in the chapters, before I forget, Taryn says something about that he's the most powerful dragon in the quadrant only, but not the most powerful dragon around.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean is like the king's dragon the most powerful, or is he hinting towards something else?
No.
Or is Melgren's the most
I
powerful?
want to say, I think Melgren's is.
Kodak.
Kodak has been described as the most powerful dragon.
Okay. All right.
So, like, Taryn is, like, second. I think Sigil's, like, third.
Does the king have a dragon? No.
Yes.
I've never heard him talk about it.
I don't hear much about the king in general.
Correct.
I don't think we really hear about the king until Iron Flame more.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we get more about him.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay.
But
I thought I always struggle between Taryn and Coda. I'm like, which, especially once we get to Iron Flame, I get confused.
I think Coda technically is the most powerful, and is why there's one moment in Iron Flame which leads me to believe what her second signet is a lot stronger, which we can go over and classify it again. Because again, it is the fact that he's the most powerful and he does what he does. Without getting too into it on the unclassified section.
Yeah, it's the whole the thing that confuses me, I think, and I just have to read Iron Flame again, is the whole like leaders of Den thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm pretty sure both Coda and Taryn are involved, so that's confusing to me because they're both black dragons. It's not important for this at all.
Dragon politics aren't discussed a lot in general in this book.
Nor are they, what do you call it? The business of humans. So, whatever.
Exactly. So we're not going to get to learn a lot about it in general, I don't think.
Yeah. Okay, so back to Jack fucking Barlow. Who basically, this is when all of a sudden, like, he's already accusing Liam of being her guard dog and Xaden of also being her guard dog, essentially, and basically crutching her through the, I don't know, school, basically.
Yeah, and we also get a really fun little detail here. So I'm going to read through what he says about Liam. And he goes, "Simmer down, Mari. I'm not going to attack your little charge. Not when I can just challenge her in a couple of weeks and accidentally snap her scrawny neck in front of an audience." Ugh.
Woof.
Jack folds his arms across his chest and watches me struggle with pure pleasure. "Tell me, though, are you getting tired of playing the nursemaid? Aren't you?" His friend from First Wing offers him something, a slice of the orange he's eating. And Jack shoves his hand away at the wrist. "Get that noxious shit away from me. Do you want me to end up in the infirmary?"
I missed that.
And then you have "Walk the fuck away, Barlow." Liam warns, dagger in hand. I manage one breath, then two, as Jack Glaze rises from me to someone standing behind me. The look on his face, half envy, half shitting himself, means it has to be Xaden. It's very interesting that he pushes away a little slice of orange. That feels like a throwaway line right now.
I missed it.
We obviously know that it's not.
And it's funny because Violet, who's struggling to breathe, didn't miss it.
No. Violet is very well aware of things like this. She needs to know everything she can about her opponents. One would think she needs to know some truth. I'm just gonna keep throwing these things out here, y'all. If you get it, you get it.
If you don't, you will soon.
Yeah. Hopefully, man. Hopefully.
Yeah, so basically, whatever. They argue, whatever. It doesn't matter. Violet catches her breath and she says she's the one who actually, like, gets him to shut up. She says, "You ran. That day in the field, you fucking ran. When it was 3-on-1, and we both know when it comes down to it, you'll run again. That's what cowards do." And stupid Dane says, "Oh, for fuck's sake, Violet," because he doesn't want her to poke the bear. But Xaden goes, "She's not wrong," because Xaden was there.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of, I don't know, Jack kind of walks away, right?
He gets forced off.
Yeah.
Liam
Leaves.
muscles Jack off the mat. Jack's boots squeak against the floor. Liam forces him out the gym, and Xaden shuts the door, locking Jack out.
Yeah. So, and then Dane says, "Why the hell were you egging him egging him on like that?" I mean, what is going on in Jack's mind is his own business.
Okay, but how have we not had a comment in a live with edging him on as a color name?
That's a good name. That's a fantastic color name. I'll go for that any day. Edging him on. Forever.
Yep.
And she says, "And now you're talking to me." And then I actually really, really like this page because, okay. This is the first time that Dane talks to her, right? In a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But Xaden is like, "I need to talk to her. Fuck off." And is like,
Yeah,
boom, like, get out of here. And then she says, "Give us a minute," to Dane. And is like, shoves him aside. Like, he doesn't even matter. It's the first time. And so if you're thinking about in Dane's mind, right? He's been thinking about her probably nonstop for a long time.
Nonstop.
Thinking like, I'm not talking to her. I'm mad at her. Blah, blah, blah. In his internal monologue, he's been nonstop like, "Oh, I'll show her, like, I won't talk to her." And then he's like, okay, this is a big moment, right? The first time he deigns to speak to her. And then she, like, brushes him off.
I have my headcanon in this exact moment is Dana 100% was not talking to her until she apologized for not showing him the memory. And if it wasn't for the whole Jack Barlow shit go down, I don't think he would have talked to her until, like, she came with her tail between her legs and saying, "I'm so sorry." Because that's the kind of asshole he is.
I have theories for when they finally do talk, I think in next chapter. Maybe it's this chapter. I don't know.
Oh, I can't wait to hear that.
But I have theories about that too. But anyway, I really like the fact that Dane doesn't even get to get started. Like he tries to start, right? And then she says,
No, and he gets pushed aside.
yeah, so she says, "I lift my chin." She says, "Oh, now you feel like talking to me?" "I lift my chin, but it's Xaden who fills my vision as he steps between us. The fury in his eyes is palpable, but I don't retreat. Give us a second." His gaze is locked on mine. Oh, she doesn't even say give us a second. He does. But we both know he's not talking to me. And then that's it. Like, Dane doesn't even get to, have his moment.
Nope. He's taking a backseat. And the first thing Xaden wants to know is, why the fuck aren't you wearing your vest?
That's all he wants to know. I think that's the only
and she goes, "Well,
conversation.
I have to wash it.
Mm-hmm.
I have to wash it." And you thought it would be a good idea during sparring?
Mm-hmm.
No, I washed it before sparring, and now it's drying.
Mm-hmm.
And
then he admits to warding her door.
Yeah, I made sure of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm supposed to trust you. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And you make it so easy. You know I can't kill you. Fuck Soaringale. The entire squadron knows I can't kill you. That doesn't mean you can't hurt me. Oh, and we're getting to my favorite scene. Stop training with the bow staff. It's easy to knock it out your hand. Stick to daggers. He and then goes, I am taking over all your training. Fuck everyone else here. You are mine and mine alone. And he immediately takes her to the mat. Every inch of my body vibrates with anger, with irritation, with whatever this electric tension is between us as we stand there, our eyes locked in combat. Then Dane fucking tries to get involved. She's not used to the bond yet. She'll learn how to block it out.
I have a quote. That you missed. He says, I am annoyingly aware of everything you do.
Oh, yes. Yes, he is. And then he says, no weapons. They are to fight without weapons, except he has weapons on him. And she sees his back, and I have one line, highlighted here. Oh, no, they don't spar yet. This is not sparring time yet. I lied, you guys.
Not yet.
I lied. I'm getting too excited.
It's okay. It does happen though soon. Yeah. So they're just kind of arguing back and forth. And so he says, "Put the armor back on." And then she notices his back as he walks away, and she sees these little silver lines on his back, a lot of them that look like. I don't know if she sees that they're scars yet, but at some point she sees that they're scars.
Yeah. Silver lines I instantly recognize as scars.
Then Taryn says, you held your own and controlled your temper. He said, and then Darna says she's ready, and he says she's ready. So she's ready to channel.
Wield. Channel. Oh. But maybe a day or two after they start channeling to her, and by they I really just mean Taryn, because Darna's not allowed to channel yet. Taryn decides it's time to have a little bit of fun time with Sigale.
Yeah. So she feels the channel come through. It's kind of like a huge thing, right? And then at the same time she starts feeling this energy, all of a sudden she feels this huge wave of lust. And it's like, what the fuck? And she sees Liam at the same time, which is funny because then she's like, what? And she looks at Liam and she says, I really honestly look at him. He's more than handsome, with strong features and sky blue eyes that are startlingly beautiful. And he says, why are you looking at me like that? And so she's like, oh my God, go to bed.
Well, and she goes, she even asks him, she's like what? And in the back of her mind, she goes, but he's not who you really want. He's not Xaden. And he says, like something's going on. You don't look like you feel, like yourself. Oh, shit. Because I'm not. All of this, the need, the lust, the craving for the person who I'm meant to be with, it's Taryn. Taryn's emotions aren't just overwhelming me, they're controlling me. I'm good. Go to bed. You're fine. And she somehow escapes Liam.
Yeah, she just she has to get out of here. She grabs her cloak, and second later she peeks out the door. When the coast is clear, she flees. And so she runs, but then she doesn't make it very far because she smells Churum, and then she runs right into Xaden. Boom.
Yep. And he offers her some.
Which I'm assuming Churum is essentially their form of marijuana.
Yeah. Which I also find his little quote to her a little bit funny. She asks, is that Churum? He blows out a puff of smoke. Want some? Unless you're here to continue our earlier argument, in which case, none for you. I'm just like, really, Xaden?
And then she goes, we're not allowed to smoke that. And he goes, yeah, well, the people who made that rule obviously weren't bonded to Sigale and Taryn, now weren't they? So, Yeah, he has had to deal with this before, obviously, with their escapades is what I'm going to call it. Their sexual
Yeah.
escapades.
And it's in this scene with their sexual escapades that he teaches Violet how to ground herself and shield. And he tells her, beyond what shielding does, of course. And she goes, well, I don't, what is that? I can't do that.
Oh, also, there's this. Okay, so she says she's kind of blaming like her, what do you call it, attraction on Taryn, and where that's like a thing too. But it says, and yet I know this isn't. Well, I'd admired Liam upstairs. I am completely and utterly obsessed with Xaden. So it's kind of an interesting. She's admitting that she's like obsessed with him.
And then we get into like a little bit of a jealous Satan vibe. Because his eyes meet mine in the moonlight. Oh, violence. You're going to have to learn to shield against Tyrion, or his escapades with Sigil will drive you mad, or into someone's bed. I squeeze my eyes shut just so I can escape his gorgeous face as a jolt of heat flashes through me, making every inch of my skin tingle and burn. I reach a hand out to steady myself against the wall again. Oh, I know, and I'm terrified to see Liam again. Liam? Why? He pivots to face me, leaning against his shoulder. Where the hell is your bodyguard? I'm my own bodyguard, and he's in bed. Your bed? His voice is like a crack of lightning. All this imagery, man.
Yeah. That is like it's starting to become very clear that it's coming from both of them, and I really like that. With Yaros made them both fall at the same time, and I really like that about this book. It's not like this enemies to lover thing is not like you're not second guessing that one of them is feeling more than the other. You know what I'm saying?
It's not the she fell first, he fell harder trope. They're pretty much in it together, and trying to deny their feelings for each other throughout.
Yeah. And so then they kind of start arguing about like she's kind of frustrating because she treats Xaden like an enemy, and he's frustrated with her because he has been helping her for months, and that's what he's trying to kind of communicate with her. He's like, I have been helping you for forever, and you just don't even like acknowledge that at all. So it's kind of a little bit of a like lover spat.
Well, and one of the most interesting things was he brings up when he's been there to help her specifically. Because she goes, no, you've given me Liam to bodyguard me for months, weeks, whatever the fuck it's been. Almost, whatever. And he goes, I'm the one who burst through your door and killed everyone who attacked you. And then I removed the other threat to your life with a very public, very polarizing display of vengeance. Liam didn't do that. I did. He wants recognition for everything he's done for her. He wants her trust. And she said the crowd wasn't polarized. They were all for it. I was there. And he goes, you were torn. In fact, you begged Taryn not to kill her, damn well knowing she'd come again after you again. That point was still debatable. But he doesn't give a shit about everybody else, and he'll tell her that. He goes, I don't care what everyone else is thinking
Of him.
I care about you. Of him.
He doesn't care what they think of him. He cares what they think of her. And which actually is a very good male trait, in my opinion, that they care what the reputation of the woman is. But then he goes, we're not fighting tonight. I'm sick of this conversation. Like, I don't want to fight with you.
Yeah.
And then he says, ask me nicely. But I like this because also we have to remember he's smoking churrum. He's a little bit, whimsical. Yeah, he's a little fun. So he says, ask me nicely.
And then she immediately deflects to, have you always been this tall?
No, I was a child at some point.
No. Ask me nicely, Violence, or I'm gone. Alright, and then she goes, right then, alright, will you teach me a shield? Say please. Which, Honestly, as a teacher, fucking relatable. Can Miss Dana open this for me? You're missing a word.
Ask me nicely.
Try that again.
Uh,
And yeah.
I'm trying to see where she asked him nicely because it's funny. Where is it?
Would you pretty please teach me how to shield before I accidentally climb you like a tree and we both wake up with regrets? Oh, I'm firmly in control of my facilities. He smiled again, and I feel it like a caress. Dangerous. This is so damned dangerous.
So he teaches her that she needs to be able to plant her feet in a place that she knows very well, it's a place that means a lot to her. So she picks the archives. So she plants her feet in the archives. She has to picture somewhere where she can lock basically Taryn and whoever else behind. So she picks the archive door. She is actually able to do it, and he is like, holy shit, that took me forever to be able to do that. Like, you're amazing. She's excited because she's like, wow, something I'm finally good at. And then what happens right after that?
Well, there is also a bit of like flirting there because he goes, I couldn't do that for weeks. She goes, well, guess I had a superior teacher. Well, it's just a little hint of flirt. Um, and then he goes, damn it, touching you was a bad idea. The worst, I agree. And kissing you would be a cataclysmic mistake.
Calamitous.
And so obviously we get the fuck it. And they kiss.
Yep. And it's a big kiss.
It's a big kiss. I think the part I have highlighted is I surrender completely, melting into him, my body going pliant against his and losing that mental foothold that he calls grounding. She is not grounding anymore right now. A flash of light burns behind my closed eyes, followed by the boom of thunder. Thunder snow isn't uncommon around here, but damn does it summarize how this feels. Wild and out of control.
But then...
Thunder strikes?
Yeah. But then he breaks the kiss with a sharp gasp, his brow furrowing, something akin to panic. This is a weird... This is a weird thing. I know why.
Maybe we should just keep this in the back of our mind for later chapters, you guys.
Also, higher on the page, he says violence. He moans with the sound of my nickname on his lips makes me ravenous. Closer, I need him closer, as though he can hear my thoughts. Just keep that in the back of your mind. Just keep that somewhere in your head.
And then he immediately tells her, you have to go. Why? Because I can't. And I refuse to act on desire that isn't yours. So you have to walk back up those steps now. But this isn't your want. That's the fucking problem. He's mad.
Yeah. He is mad. Because he has to be the bigger person, and he's mad about it. Womp womp.
I can't blame him.
Womp
womp. Womp.
Oh, well. And then she kind of realizes that as she walks away, she's like, oh, yeah, this kind of sucks. Because, I don't know, like, if things were to go in a blissful way, she maybe would have been like, this is great or whatever. But since it ended kind of, like, not in a blissful way, she's like, oh, well, this fucking sucks.
But I do want to say, as much as he's like, yeah, this isn't your want, I do think if something were to have happened in this moment, she would still have regretted it.
Oh, she would have. Like,
she would have
had excuses and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, she would have freaked out, and I think Xaden also knows that, and he had to do what he had to do.
She would have thrown it in his face.
Yeah. Yeah, like how she did Dane with their kiss.
Ooh, yeah. Okay, so then she starts to tell in chapter 23 Rhiannon about kissing Xaden, which is like, she's giving the tea. There's not a whole lot
Yeah.
here.
Not for this particular point. The one thing of interest that Rhiannon says is, we'll start with Violet. Violet goes, he's the most powerful rider of our generation. He's going to be needed on the front, not here. Because they're talking about next year when he graduates and how this mating bond works for Sigil and all. Because they have to basically be together. They can't be separated for a long amount of time. They just don't know how long yet. So they're trying to figure out how is that going to work with Violet being a second year next year, Xaden being on the front lines. We learned that mated dragons, if both of them are going to bond, they try to bond within the same year, so this isn't an issue. But yeah,
I did
so
think
my
of
face
something
scrunched.
about that. So they make this a big deal about how Xaden and, Violet or whatever aren't like whatever. Violet has 2 dragons. So I know like next year it's a problem or whatever, but like the year after that, it shouldn't be a problem. She has 2 dragons.
I think people aren't thinking of the fact. Well,
That
keep in mind it's also new. 2 dragons are also a new thing,
well,
so nobody really knows how having 2 dragons work.
and they
And
that
in
she's
their
gonna grow.
eyes, yes, we know that Andarna is going to grow and get bigger, but in their eyes, Andarna hasn't been showing up to any of the practices or any of the like fight drills or anything. She is elusive. So they also don't know how powerful she can be.
It's just
or will
interesting
be.
that it's not even a conversation. Like Andarna's not even a conversation at all in this of
Not
like
yet, at least.
yeah, like it's like, oh, you have to be with Taryn. It's like, well, Violet has another dragon.
Yeah. Like, Taryn can easily fly off, do whatever he needs to do, and Violet should be fine.
Right.
However, that idea isn't... They want her with the powerful dragon.
Yeah.
And it's very clear that, like, power means more than anything else.
Anyway.
So...
But I get that, like,
who
it's
knows?
not a thing for, like, the next year or whatever, but it could be, like, that would be very easy for her 3rd year. I would think.
Yeah.
But whatever. Anyway.
We'll look more into that in the classified section.
Yeah, so Rhiannon hints very heavily that, like, Xaden, or that she will potentially be the most powerful rider at some point, and that Xaden will not always be the most powerful rider. And so her priorities might be more important than Xaden's.
Yeah. And then we have Liam going, is fucking Sorengale in there with you because she's here? He goes, there you are. I went to the bathroom and you disappeared. He goes, thank God I fucking lost you, man. I wanted to talk about shit without you around. I can't girl talk with you, Liam.
Especially not about Xaden.
Exactly.
And then Rhiannon manifests her signet.
Yeah. Well, she shows off her signet, which... How are we describing her signet? What is the word for this?
She can summon.
Summoning. Okay.
So there's like a book like way across the room, and so she can summon the book from there to like her hand.
Her hand.
Pretty cool.
Which we start to, after learning this, we do get into very soon basically everybody's signets who has manifested so far. But they head off to Professor Carr's room, and while Violet feels a bit out of place because she hasn't manifested her signet yet, she can still work on the lesser magics. The fun ballpoint pen. Mage lights.
But then this is when Dane wants to talk.
Yeah. Vi, can we talk now? I tried to catch you after formation, but you disappeared pretty quickly. And she goes, I have class right now. We have a couple minutes, please. So she, unfortunately, gives Dane the time of day.
Can I give you my theory about this
So
whole
sad.
conversation before we go through it?
Yes, please.
Okay, so this whole conversation doesn't matter, in my opinion, because, okay. So when you get to the end of this conversation, he pacifies her very quickly. Like, it's like they don't come to a conclusion. It's like he makes this you can tell he almost like makes this mental decision where he's like, okay, she's not going to come to my side. I am going to now leave her out of trying to protect her, and I am going to now protect her from the like my own like the back end, and I'm going to leave her out of this. Like, she obviously doesn't know what's good for her, and I'm just now going to pacify her and think that like make things good face to face, right? But on the back end, I'm going to be like trying to protect her in ways that she maybe would not approve of, is what it seems like to me. Because, you know, they have all these fight about whatever, like, about Zayden, about Amber, whatever. The most important parts are like he thinks that she trusts Zayden more than him, and she kind of goes, "Oh well, maybe I do." Like, you know, she does. And then she's trying to say like, "You're trying to keep me from growing." Basically, this is stuff that they've been trying to hash out like forever now, and it just is like
Yeah.
it's annoying at this point.
I feel like this fight was a long time coming, and it's one of those like we obviously haven't been talking because you think you know what's best for me, and you are unwilling to grow and adapt and change that opinion. But there is one very important thing that I think gets buried in all of it because it happens at the very beginning of this fight, and this one moment will later shape our thoughts on Dane, and I mean not mine because fuck Dane, but Violet's more so.
What is
And
it?
I have it highlighted because you know he gets into the whole fucking Amber Mavis shit again. I didn't believe you, and that part's on me. He raises his hand over his heart. I should have believed you, but I couldn't reconcile the woman I knew with what you were saying. And you didn't come find me after the attack either. Hurt laces his tones. I had to hear about it, information by. Regardless of the fight we had on the flight field, you're still you to me. And my best friend had been viciously attacked, nearly killed, and you didn't say a single word about it. You didn't ask, I said softly. You reached for my head like you were entitled to my memory after blatantly telling me you didn't believe me. And you demanded I showed you. It's everything I could do. It's everything I can do to keep my voice even. 2 lines appear between his eyebrows. I didn't ask. He's obviously like, what the fuck you mean I didn't ask? Like, who gives a shit if I asked or not?
Well, he's also so used to reading
Ask.
her memories now without asking that I don't think he like even.
Because it's happened more than once. I need y'all to wake up and read between the lines here.
Yep.
But you didn't ask. I shake my head. After being told countless times that I'm not tough enough for this place, not strong enough, well, what happened on the flight field was a long time coming between you and me. The worst part is that I knew you wouldn't believe me. That it's why I almost didn't tell Zayden who it was because I was sure he wouldn't believe me either. But he did. Dane's voice drops and his jaw ticks. And he was the one who killed them in your bedroom because Taryn told Sigale. I folded my arms across my chest. Not because he was already there or anything. And you know I hate him. You have every reason to hate him. But the biggest thing here is like Violet's putting her foot down going like, you didn't ask. This is an invasion of privacy. Like, fuck off. But clearly he's been doing it.
Then they basically get into the like, she's not good enough again. Like, you're too weak.
Ugh.
And it just drives me nuts. And then okay, so I'm kind of like whatever. So she gets to this point. She goes, you know what? It's irrelevant, and I mean it. You only want to keep me safe. I appreciate it, but it stops now, Dane. Xaden is tied to me because of Sigale, nothing more. I do not need protection, and if I do, I have 2 badass dragons who have my back. Can you respect that? He reaches up to cut my cheek. This is where I know that he's being sinister now, because now he's like, okay, he's given up on trying to reason with her, and now he's like becoming the villain. This is when Dane becomes the villain. He reaches up to cut my cheek, and I hold his gaze, determined for him to understand he either starts valuing my choices or we are never going to fix our relationship. All right, Vi. Like, think of that like the way he says that. All right, Vi. His eyes crinkle at the sides as his mouth turns up into a half smile. How can I argue with someone who has 2 badass dragons? That is the creepiest paragraph I've ever read in my entire life.
This has me questioning what happened recently enough that he could have seen. Like, how...
The kiss.
Did he see the kiss?
The kiss! Or at least her talking to Rhiannon about it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And now he's on... Now she's on a radar. She's getting close to a marked one. Now she's on a radar.
And now he's... Yeah. Okay. Now he's going to start, doing what we know he does. Oh, this is when Dane becomes the villain.
And it's also really shitty because right after she goes, I'm sorry for not asking for the memory. But she just fucking read her mind again. Get the fuck out.
Yeah, this is like... And the thing you have to think about with Dane is that, okay, he's been training with Professor Carr, right, for like 2 years now. Or, well, a year and a half or whatever.
Yeah.
Professor Carr's training with him has to be a lot about deception, right? How do you get information from people without them knowing? And how do you gain people's trust without them suspecting? So Dane at this point has to be a very good, deceptive spy.
Yeah, and it's the fact that he's also classified. So he's not doing all these trainings where everyone else is while everyone else is doing it. Like, it happens separately, privately, because nobody else can know what he is. Because that as soon as somebody else finds out his signet ability, they're going to be like, well, why the fuck does he get to live and all the other ones die? Well, that's because his daddy is who his daddy is, but y'all ain't ready for that conversation. So then we're in... We meet Professor Carr. Well, Professor Carr fully meets Violet for the first time. And he asks what her signet power is. And she goes, I don't have one yet. And he goes, I see. Your siblings were both gifted by extraordinary signet powers. Mira's ability to manifest a ward around her and her squad has been an absolute asset to her wing, and she's been highly decorated for her valor behind enemy lines. So we know that Mira's ability is wards, or ward building. And Brennan, menders are so very rare, and to lose one so young was tragic. I think losing Brennan is the tragedy. That very big distinction there. They are upset because they lost a mender. They lost his signet. And Violet goes, no, I think losing my brother is actually the issue here. But then he's like, well, I guess you can just work on the lesser magics. It's fine. But with Taryn having chosen you, we'll expect nothing but an earth-shattering signet from you. Take a seat. Earth-shattering, you say? But again, that's not how signets work. The dragon doesn't get to decide what the signet is. It's a manifestation of the writer's needs.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay, so Violet, in the next section, Violet kind of, I don't know, it kind of, whatever, does little, like, summary things, but, in the beginning, she kind of does weird things. She kind of
Do
does
we?
Harry Potter stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where she goes, December turns to January, and then she does, like, a little, like, weird thing, and then it jumps to, like, something else.
Well, before we get there, do we want to do a quick signet rundown for everybody so far? Because we do get one very quickly.
Yeah, we can.
So we have, by the end of the second week of January, I'm not only pissed at Xaden, hasn't bothered to talk to me about the kiss, but exhausted. Riddick can wield ice, which is which might be a more common signet, but it's still impressive to see. Sawyer had metalgary powers grow every day. Liam can see a single tree miles away, so Liam has far sight.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I can stop time, but I'm not willing to drain Andarna just for the sake of trying again.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of get a roundout of like all of the characters we care about and what their signets are.
And of course, Rhiannon can summon, but that was so recent that I don't think she put it in.
Yeah, she didn't restate it. So there we are with signets. And then we find out
Jack is going to challenge her.
He's been given the chance on the mat tomorrow. He's going to kill me. He's going to try. I need advice. Don't let him. Thanks, Taryn.
Mm-hmm. Is it tomorrow or is it right now? I feel like it's right now.
Tomorrow. Because, no, it's technically she's figuring this out at night. Going where, like, Brendan told them to go. Because then she meets the following morning. She tells Liam, the following morning or that night, she tells Liam, if I tell you something, will you report it to Xaden? Why would you think, oh, come on, we both know you report just about everything. But would keeping it to myself alter your safety in any way? No.
Maybe. Probably.
Possibly. There's nothing you can do, and that's the point. Where friends tell me Jack Barlow's going to be allowed to challenge me today. So this is the following day now. How do you know that? And that's what I'm asking you to keep to yourself. Just try to trust that I know. The instructors can't let this happen. And she goes, no, like, you can't. Xaden can't get involved. There's going to be an uproar, especially after what happened to Amber. Like, you can't stop this challenge from happening. It has to happen. So Violet, being the badass she does, is keeping an eye on her enemy and watching everything, or rather everything he doesn't put on his plate during breakfast. Mat 17, Jack Barlow from First Swing versus Violet Soaringale. No fucking way. All right.
Really? Jack throws his hands in the air like he's already won. It's funny.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because this whole like book we've kind of been given this like I don't know thought that Jack is like
Will they, won't we?
Well, we've kind of been giving this like narrative that Jack's like terrifying and that he's like powerful and stuff, but he's kind of a pussy.
I really just picture Jack as like a kindergartner.
Me too.
I'm so honest.
He's like Sid from Toy Story. That's him. Sid. That's the perfect way to describe him.
Basically, right as the match starts, Liam goes, tell me I can break my promise. And she goes, well, third years are off doing third year things. You can't get him here in time, so go ahead. And Liam runs. He goes, stay. He looks at Riddick. He goes, you're in charge of keeping her alive. Stay alive. And he bolts out the door.
I don't know that it was the best
my
choice
God.
for him to just like leave her. Like and to go get Xaden. Like I don't know.
I think it's really funny that he chose to put Riddick in charge of keeping her alive.
Well, I think Rhiannon maybe would have been a better choice.
Yeah, well, it couldn't have been Rhiannon because she was already on the map.
Oh, okay. All right.
So Jack bounces, borrows her weapons. Jack bounces like a kid who'd just been given a gift. Anything she can hold in those puny hands of hers. No wielding. This was like the number one rule. No wielding. No powers. Tap out or knock out earns you a victory.
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone's gathered around knowing Jack won't go for either of those options. If he gets his hands around my neck, I'm dead. And then she asks Taryn, the whole I die, Xaden dies thing is really just a hypothesis, right?
Yeah.
One I'd rather not put to the test.
I love how Taryn like always talks her through everything too. And he's like, go for the gullet. I think that's a funny like word to use, the gullet.
Yeah. And then she was like, I don't have the energy to block you out, so I'm going to need you to shut up.
Mm-hmm.
Keep it clean. And so they go. They are sparring. And they seem to be pretty evenly matched for the most part. Like, she's doing pretty well.
Yep. And she actually gets him to a point where he could yield. And then I can't remember what happens. Oh, he throws a dagger at her, which is against the rules.
Yeah, he throws his dagger.
Mm-hmm.
And it lodges into her forearm, and she's like, I can't pull this out because it's keeping the blood in. Mm-hmm. And then, we get this lovely little line. His sadistic grin and a red rim around his eyes are all I can see as he forces more and more power into my body. But his hands are occupied, and he's too obsessed with his victory to hear that I've stopped screaming, to see that I'm moving. And then everyone's up in arms because they think he's using his power somehow, right? He is putting I don't fucking know what his signet is, but he's putting some kind of like electrical pulse into her body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it says, I scream as I'm shaken by an internal force I don't understand, as though he's forcing his own power into my body, shocking me with 1,000 stings of vibrating energy.
Red Rim dies. I'm just going to put that out there for anybody who's interested. Mm-hmm. And then she shoves the vial against Jack's... She, like, has this little vial. She shoves it against his smile so hard that she feels one of his teeth break. Hands reach for both of us. I hear Riddick and Amaretto crying out, jerking their hands away after contact. Whatever Jack is doing is transferring from me to them by touch. Which is, again, very interesting. I refuse to succumb to the darkness until Jack wheezes. His eyes fly impossibly wide, and he drops his hands, clutching his own neck as his airways close. Riddick is telling Violet to breathe. Somebody asks what the hell is wrong with Jack. And then fucking Violet has to say this shit. Mm-hmm. And she goes, oranges. He's allergic to oranges.
And then she passes out.
And she gets whisked away to the healer's quadrant, where she wakes up to see Xaden standing or sitting in the room
and
with
the
her.
First thing he says,
oranges?
Yeah. I love that. That's my favorite.
Oranges.
Oranges. The next chapter kind of opens with her talking to him about why did you tell them that you poisoned him with oranges? Because I didn't really understand this, but like by her saying that, she saved his life.
You turned oranges into weapon violence.
Yeah. And so he kind of says, if you would have not told them what you poisoned him with, he would have died. But because you told them...
You could have killed him and saved us all a lot of drama.
Yeah. And she says,
And we will circle back to that.
She says, I didn't want to kill him. I just wanted him to stop killing me. I totally resonate with that. Like, anytime I've ever had, let's say, like, drama or a conflict with someone, I've always been like, I don't want to attack them. I want them to stop attacking me. That's my biggest, like, thing. I don't want to go on the offensive. I just don't want them to be attacking me anymore. Like, I totally get that. So that's kind of Violet's biggest thing. Like, she just doesn't want to be attacked anymore. She wants to be left alone.
Yeah. She's like, I honestly, I just didn't want to die. I kept us both alive. You're fucking welcome. You should have told me. That line, I think, really triggers me because of Dane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's nothing and she was right. There's nothing he could have done. And she's at this point is kind of protecting Xaden from overstepping.
Yeah, but then she also goes, and you haven't exactly been around to talk about anything in weeks. If I didn't know any better, I think the kiss scared ya. Shit.
He says we're not talking about
Didn't
that.
mean to say that. Seriously, it was a mistake. You and I are going to be stationed together for the rest of our lives, never able to escape the other. Getting involved, even on a physical level, is a colossal blunder. No point talking about it. Maybe it was a churrum.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. Taking over what? And this is when he tells her, like, I am taking... Apparently, I can't trust Liam to report deadly situations or Rhiannon to train you on the mat, seeing how easily Barlow had you pinned. So as of this moment, I'm taking over.
Woo!
Taking over what? Everything when it comes to you. I mean, he said he was taking over everything. Does that mean other needs as well?
Well, this is one of those times where I doubt that it's actually... This is just like an excuse. This is an excuse to be closer. This is not practical at all.
This is an excuse to be closer. A lot closer.
Also, I don't really actually understand... Yeah, whatever. That's... Whatever. It's good. It is what it is. I was just going to say, I don't really understand the whole point of the next part of the chapter. Whatever.
The next part of the chapter where he gives her his special handmade daggers.
That's important. But the like stealing her away from class and stuff, I don't really understand. I don't get it.
Oh. I think part of that is
Kinda
just
boring.
he wants to train her and he wants to be the one who train her, but he doesn't want everyone else seeing that it's him doing it for her sake.
Yeah, I guess.
So it's, I'm going to train you, but we're going to train in secret.
Yeah. Well, yeah, so he gives her daggers with, let's see, I study the blade in his hand. It's beautiful with a solid black hilt engraved with tearish knots, old mythical runes of intricate swirls and ties. The blade itself is clearly honed to lethal protection. It's spectacular. He says that it's made smaller so people can stop knocking them out of her hands. Is that what it is?
Yeah, they're smaller hilts so she can have a better grip on them. Like, they are custom made for her. But the thing is she goes, like, I can't take these from you. Like, the only way you can gain weapons is by earning them, by disarming somebody.
Oh, never mind.
Them.
This is a different part. I understand this part. This is a go part.
This is such a great part. So he teaches her how to disarm him.
Never mind. In my notes I have they spar and it's hot.
Yes, they do. Because they talk about disarming, and I don't know if I highlighted it.
He says there's more than one way to disarm someone. Hold on. Where is it?
Yes, because what does he say right before that? Nope, not thinking about that. I had it made for you. Who made it? Someone in the quadrant. Oh, here it is. I know how to handle you on top of me. I challenge quickly. He lowers his mouth to my ear. You won't like what happens if you push me. Or maybe I will. I turn just enough that my lips brush the shell of his ear. He jerks up. The heat in his gaze makes me all too aware of everywhere our bodies connect. Disarm me before I test that theory in front of everyone in this gym. Interesting. I didn't take you for an exhibitionist. Keep pushing and I guess you'll find out. I thought you said kissing me was a mistake. I don't care that the entire quadrant is watching if that means he'll kiss me again. It was, he smirks. I'm just teaching you that blades aren't the only way to disarm an opponent. Tell me, Violence, are you disarmed? Arrogant ass.
Ooh. Ass.
Oh. And she goes and she starts disarming him. She's kneeling on top of him.
Mm-hmm.
And lastly, I say with a smile, leaning forward, our heated bodies nearly flush as I snatch the dagger right out of his hand. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Then we go
And then he
to...
uses his powers.
Yeah. Then we go to the boring part.
Yeah. Ugh. You didn't hear. He burned himself to death. Oh, somebody else died.
Yeah, 2 kids die. 1 kid burned himself to death, and 1 kid froze himself to death, and almost froze Liam to death.
3 kids died. That he froze himself and the kid next to him, and Liam was nearby.
Mm-hmm.
He went up like a torch.
Yeah.
And Violet still isn't convinced that her signet has manifested, and she feels like she's in like a countdown, right? She's on a countdown.
So Xaden...
They're talking about
Go ahead.
getting ready for Squad Wars.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. And then, so Xaden says she's going to skip class today. Blah, blah, blah. He's taking her away from class. Blah, blah, blah. They actually run into Dane's father and her mother. That's when it's actually important, or like interesting and important.
Yeah, so they run into Colonel Atos, fucking bitch ass. And the first thing he wants to know, like, he wants to get a better look at Andarna. So, like, they phrase it like, oh, well, Dane, how are you? You must be getting a lot of airtime. And she's like, you know, Dane's doing well. He's my squad leader. And Colonel Atos is like, oh, he's told me. And you're like, fuck, they talk. And they talk a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, that's not a good sign. Mira asked about you while we were touring the Southern Wing last month. Don't worry, you'll get letter privileges in second year, which that's like something to note, and I'm sure we've said it already in this podcast, but first years are not allowed to communicate basically with anybody outside of the college.
Yeah. Like,
if you can't see them face to face, you can't talk to them. Xaden stiffens, and then, oh, look, here is her mom. And she slips up, and she calls
Mom.
General Sorrengail mom. And she never does that.
And the first thing she says is, I hear you're having trouble wielding. Bitch.
And, yeah. And she's like, but I have the best shields in my year. With a dragon-like Terran, I would certainly hope so. If not, all of that incredible, enviable power will have been squandered. Come on, Lilith. You're supposed to be Team Violet. And I wonder if this is all just a show for the people around. You have been the topic of conversation. What?
I think, so, like, right after about where you were, she says, her gaze skims the top of my head, and I know she's looking at the silver-tipped braid she thinks marks me as cursed. Okay, so I know that that's, like, kind of, like, maybe a classified section, but I think that that's very interesting that she pays such close attention and hates her silver-tipped hair and marks her as cursed. I think that that's very interesting and to pay attention to. Like, why would she pull that such as, like, I don't know, a bad marker?
Why is that coming up as much? Yeah. Which, we know that, like, her hair and all, it's silver tips no matter the length. And as far as these 2 books are concerned, honestly, it's attributed to her birth defects, right? Her being weaker than whatever. It's all going hand in hand with each other. So, they then want to know about if she's wielding anything from the Golden Dragon. And of course, Violet says no, with Taryn reminding her to say no.
I was kind of annoyed that
And
Taryn
Jordan,
reminded her here because I wish that the author would have let her just be like, obviously she wasn't going to say anything.
yeah, especially with Zayden standing right there. And Joanna's told me Feathertails are known for being unable to channel power to their riders. It's why they don't bond often or ever. Colonel Atos chimes in. We're actually hoping you might ask your dragon to allow us to study her, purely for academic purposes. Fuck no, get away from my dragon. And she goes like, no, I don't see her being comfortable with that. She's really private, even with me. Like, fuck off.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get the detail that like we don't have a lot of notes on Feathertails. Except we've had the scribes on it since threshing, and the only reference they can find in the archives about the power of Feathertails is hundreds of years old, which is funny because I remember your father doing a bit of research about the second Corvolan uprising, and he mentioned something about Feathertails, but we can't seem to find that tome. Mom looked at me with expectation as though to ask me without asking. I don't believe he finished his research on that particular historical event before he died, Colonel Atos. I couldn't even tell you where his notes are. The words are as true as I can make them. I know exactly where his notes are, in the one location he spent the majority of his after-hours time. But there's something about Taryn's warning that makes me simply unable to tell them. I think, as much as I wish that warning didn't come out, if it hadn't been for him speaking into his head, she might have let that slip.
Also,
What the fuck did her dad know?
also, what does it mean by unable?
It makes what, unable to tell them?
Yeah, so
I think
she says
because he kind of rumbled like, do not speak of it at all. She's not even just thinking of Indarna anymore. She's thinking greater dragon kind. It's not supposed to be human knowledge. We're not supposed to know about Feathertails.
Mm.
They want to keep them safe, and in the vein of wanting to keep them safe, she doesn't even want to say anything about his notes. Which also, where are these notes and why weren't they burned?
That's what I was thinking. And then also, her mom moves on really quickly. She goes, too bad.
Mm-hmm.
And then goes,
Does Lilith know?
And then goes, glad to see you're alive, Sorengale, and then is done. We're done.
Mm-hmm.
So like again, this is on the second reread, or on my second time around. I actually do think that General Sorengale is on the right side. I actually never thought that in the beginning. I thought that she was kind of a bad guy, and I now am thinking that she is on the right side of things. She is trying to steer Atos away from this.
Yeah, and I think she clearly was aware that Violet knew more about her dad's studies than Lilith knew about what her husband did, and that's why she was kind of trying to ask Violet without bluntly saying hey, what the fuck do you know about this? Because obviously he talked to you more about it. But she wanted to give Violet the ability to share what she felt comfortable with sharing.
Mm-hmm. And then Zayden is like, you didn't tell her about how you got out of the attack in your bedroom. And then, whatever. And then he says, I didn't really realize it was quite like that between you two. Like, he thought they were maybe like a friendly family. And she's like, yeah, that's nothing.
Yeah. And then she kind of goes into it she spent almost an entire year ignoring me when Dad died, which was almost as wholesome as the years she spent barely tolerating my existence because I wasn't perfect like Brennan or a warrior like Mira. Mm-hmm. I shouldn't be saying these things. She doesn't know you very well then. Thanks, Aiden. She needed that.
Mm-hmm. Then she asks, what was that about anyway? Saying that you resolved questions years ago, because she kind of was like, questioning why Violet was friends with
Be-
him or whatever.
Being forced to keep questionable company,
Yeah.
understanding that they're forced to be together because of Taryn and Sigil.
And he goes, just reminding her that I paid the price for my loyalty. And she goes,
Paid what price?
yeah.
Boundaries, violence.
Yeah, so he won't tell her. So this is like a lead up. Like, we're leading up to this news. We still don't find out in this section. Not the full story, at least.
Nope. Nope. And then we're on to squad battles.
Oh, also, just
Squad battles.
so this training, I do see it as kind of like insignificant. Like, so he says that they're going to do all these like little pieces of training. I actually do think this is interesting. Now, for a second, so they talk about how they're going to train all how to fly together. Sigale needs to learn how to follow. Taryn needs to learn how to, like, blah blah blah. Right, all these things. It's interesting. It's like they're training how to fly together as like a family. It's really interesting. Like it's like we need to learn how to fly as a unit. Like we are a unit and we need to be like tight together.
And you would think that Taryn and Sigale would know how to fly together already.
Not with riders.
But anyways, not with riders, clearly.
Yeah. And they snap at each other too. What was it? Sigale is no. Taryn needs to learn how to share his space. And every other dragon but Sigale is too scared to fly closer or something like that. Or no, Sigale snaps at him.
So Zayden basically says, and what Violet asks, and what is Sigale learning? Zayden grins. She's been leading for almost 3 years now. She's going to have to learn how to follow, or at least practice. And Taryn laughs.
And she snaps at him, baring her teeth and coming within inches of his neck. That's funny.
Oh my god. She's dragon relationships are absolutely incomprehensible. Yeah, you should try a human one sometime. Just as vicious but less fire. God damn it, Zayden.
Yeah. Now we're in the game.
On to squad battles.
Yeah.
And the Book of Brennan puts this beautifully. The squad battle is more important than the wing leaders will let on. They like to joke that it's a game, that it's just bragging rights for the squad leaders and the winning squad, but it's not. They're all watching. The commandant, the professors, the commanding officers, they're all watching to see who will rise to the top. They're salivating to see who will fall. But then we're into it, and we get Rhiannon telling somebody to tap out. So we're starting with combat challenges.
Yes.
It's the last portion.
And so Rhiannon like wins a fight, and then Liam is also like winning a fight at the same time. And they both need to win to like pull ahead, basically, I think.
And they do, but as soon as they win, we have fucking Violet going, where the hell? I don't see Dane. Where the hell is Dane? Why the fuck do you care about Dane?
So they're supposed to have a squad battle or like the bigger event tomorrow, but they decide to have it today. And this one is worth more points. You have a funny quote?
No, I just read the note I wrote, and where it said, where the hell was Dane? I wrote in my Kindle, off being the fuckboy he is. Sorry.
We learned that this next like event is worth enough points that anyone could probably pull ahead and win because of it. So
yeah,
whoever wins,
and they're learning that none of the squad leaders are there. Your squad leader's not there. Your wing leader's not there. They have to rely on each other and kind of self-appoint for this. And drumroll, the mission is
3.
They have to like find something.
3 hour. They have 3 hours to find, what is it? Information?
A stolen treasure. Yeah, a stolen treasure that like the enemies would use or would find helpful against them.
Would turn the tide of war or something like that. Or like help, yeah.
Yeah. You're on your own. Your mission is simple. Find and acquire by any means necessary the one thing that would be the most advantageous to our enemies regarding the war effort. Leadership will serve as unbiased judges and the winning squad will be awarded 60 points. That's enough to put us into first, Rhiannon whispers. We could win the glory of going to the front. And then what are the boundaries? Anything within the walls of Biscayeth. So they're trying to figure out what to steal. And they make a note like, you cannot steal a dragon. Not acceptable.
Mm-hmm. I also think it's hilarious. Okay, so Violet has an idea, so she starts working it out in her head and getting everyone's signets or whatever. And then she's like, we're going to break into my mother's office because she's like, I know there's something in there that would be helpful. And she's the only one who could do that. She's the only one. They have definite benefit in that for that information.
Yeah, because they're talking about like, let's get a weapon, let's get this, let's get that. And Violet goes, information. Like, information is the most powerful thing. And so she goes up, because Imogen's like, get up here and work it out. We can wield, right? By all means necessary. All right. And they go through. So yeah, they are going to break into Mom's office.
I love this. This is what I would do. 100%.
I love a good heist.
Yeah. So, there isn't like a ton of like, I don't know. This is just them kind of like using their signets and getting into the office. It's more interesting when we get to the office. There's 2 letters that she reads. And I feel like they probably both have important things in them. Otherwise they wouldn't be included.
Yeah. So one talks about the raids around Athenbine. And it says, General Sorengale, the raids around Athenbine have spread the wing too thin. Being posted beyond the safety of the wards comes with considerable hazards. And though I am loath to request reinforcements, I must. If we do not reinforce the post, we may be forced to abandon it. We are protecting Navarian citizens with life, limb, and wing, but I cannot adequately rely how dire the situation is here. I know you received the dailies from our scribe attachment, but I would be remiss in my duties as executive officer of Southern Wing if I did not write to you personally. Please find us reinforcements. Sincerely, Major Callista Nima. But before this, she finds something very interesting on her mother's desk. There are 3 folded missives in the middle, and I pick up the first, revealing a sharp dagger with an alloy-infused hilt, and what looks to be a Tirish rune in the handle that she must be using as a letter opener or something. This dagger is important.
It is.
This dagger is important. Remember this dagger.
Though it's also worth saying that they're also looking and they're seeing that there's a lot of numbers and stuff. She's also balancing the budget. So she does a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
They also say with that letter, they say that they haven't been talking about that in Battle Brief, that nothing is that like intense. Maybe they don't want to scare us or whatever, that it's that bad over there.
And then we get the second missive. Protests regarding conscription laws are growing within the province of Tyrandor. Knowing that due to Tyrandor's size, it provides the majority of our conscripts to replenish our front lines, we cannot afford to lose the support of the people again. Perhaps an influx of defensive spending on outposts here would not only boost the province's economy and remind the Tirish how needed they are to defend our kingdom, or to the defense of our kingdom, but also ease the unrest. Please consider this solution as an alternative to suppressing the unrest with force. Sincerely, Lieutenant Colonel Alyssa Travanti. And then Violet like writes it off and she looks at the map.
Yeah. She says something Hold on. No, doesn't matter. Anyway, so yeah, then she looks at the map and she goes, "This is what we need to steal." Because it's like,
And so this map,
think of it as like a
yeah,
general's table with all the little little like figurines or whatever, but it's like a map on a wall instead, you know?
it has outposts marked. It tells you who is where. It has everything. Like if your enemy got their hands on this, they could take you down. And she tells them, "I know what we need to steal."
So they steal it. Actually, Rhiannon is able to use her summoning to get it out, which is cool.
Yeah,
Um,
because they have uh, a guy ready to be like, "Hey, let's go." The guard's coming back, and it's really funny because they basically knock him out, and then what does she do?
shoves him in an office.
Adapt me. They knock him out. No, and then she like has this like little vial of something, of some kind of herbs or whatever. It's a tonic. And she goes, he'll sleep the rest of the night. Like this puts him out fully. She slips this tonic. And then Liam's wide eyes met mine. You're kind of terrifying.
Yep.
Thank you. And they are the last to arrive back in Battle Brief. And Dane looks pissed off for some reason.
And I love so Third Wing is offering a scribe. They stole a scribe, which is stupid.
Wide-eyed scribe. Yep, someone's signet power takes away speech. Poor thing's gonna be traumatized when they finally let him go.
Yep. So then Imogen says, "This is your idea. Present." So they have, and she finds like Zayden's eyes too because she's like showing off at this. She wants to see him be impressed by this. So she goes, "We have brought the ultimate weapon for our enemies, an up-to-date map of all of our current outposts of Navarian wings to include troop strength and infantry battlements. I point to the forts along the Stygian border, as well as the locations of all of the current skirmishes on the last 30 days, including last night." A murmur rips through the quadrant. "How do we know this map is in fact current?" Kaori asks. There is no stopping the smile that spreads across my face, because we stole it from General Sorengale's office. Absolute mayhem breaks out amongst the riders.
Which, like, this is a pretty badass move.
Yep, it is. Yep. And then I ignore it. All but Zayden tilts one corner of his beautiful mouth and his lips and tips his imaginary hat to me, bowing his head for a heartbeat before bringing his gaze back to hold mine. Satisfaction fills every ounce of my being as I smile at him.
It doesn't matter how the boat comes down, I've already won.
Oh, cute.
And they do win.
Yeah. So we know that in chapter 26 because they end up going to the front, which is, they said before in last reading section that when we found out this would be the, like, whatever prize for winning. It's a weird prize. You know, you win, you get to go to the front.
You win. Go experience war on the front lines.
It's a weird prize. So.
However, there is something special about the outpost that they do get put at.
Oh, Mira.
Because it's Mira's.
Mira's there.
It's Mira's outpost.
Yeah.
But we also learned that they are very, very close to Rhiannon's village.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So yeah, I mean, this is, I don't know. They talk a little bit about the differences between Battle Brief and what's actually happening. She sees Mira. It's very exciting. I don't know where we want to start in this one.
So we get a very quick like reunion with Mira, right? And Violet kind of in her mind goes down the last time she saw her. Mira, I bury my face against her shoulder and my eyes burn as she rests her hand on top of the very braid she taught me how to do. It's as if the weight of everything that has happened over the last 9 months comes crashing down, slamming into me with the force of a crossbolt. The wind of the parapet, the look in Zayden's eyes when he realized I was a soaring gale, the sound of Jack swearing he'd kill me, the smell of burning flesh that first day, the look of Auralie's face when she fell off from the gauntlet, Pryor and Luca and Trina and Tynan, Oren and Amber Mavis, Taryn and Andarna choosing me, Zayden kissing me, our mother ignoring me. Mira pulls me back just long enough to look me over as if she's checking for damage. You're all right. She nods, her teeth digging into her bottom lip. You're all right, aren't you? Yeah, you're all right, Violet. You're all right.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then like we see a giant scar on Mira, and it's a whole thing, but Dane, Dane, Imogen goes, soaring girls are weird. Dane says, you have no idea. And then Mira goes, shut up, Betos. I just wanted to throw that part in there, you guys. I like when he gets told to shut up.
My guess is for her, like, Dane is like a younger brother, you know?
Yeah. But then we get quickly thrown into Rhiannon and Violet trying to sneak out to go visit Rhiannon's family. And immediately getting caught by Mira.
Mm-hmm. And
like, you don't at least check the corners.
And it's not hard for them to convince Mira to just go with them.
Not at all. And they all find themselves basically a 5-minute flight away, which this is also like highly illegal. They're not supposed to leave posts without permission.
Mm-hmm.
But they find themselves at Rhiannon's house so that Rhiannon can meet her little nephew?
Mm-hmm.
Niece? Nephew?
Mm-hmm.
Whichever.
And then her and Mira kind of catch up.
Their own little moment.
Yeah, they're kind of off to the side, catching up. It's also like, so she catches up with Mira about her scar, and she says she got by a griffin. She says, thinking out of nowhere in a village raid, and she goes, Cranston, she's thinking about back to Battle Breeze. We never learned about that one. And then she says, common sense tells me to shut my mouth. Which is interesting. So she goes, you what? And she goes, I think there's way more going on along the borders than we are told. And then Mira lifts her brows and she goes, well, of course there is. You don't expect Battle Brief to relay classified information, do you? You know better than that. And honestly, at the rate our borders are being attacked, you'd have to devote all day to Battle Brief in order to dissect each assault. I think that's also Mira, like, telling herself things. You know what I'm saying? Like, because she lifts her brows, then she tells herself these things. That makes sense. Do you guys get all the information? Only what we need. Like, I could have sworn I saw a riot of dragons across the border during this attack. She shrugs. But questions about secret operations are above my pay grade. Think of it this way. If you were a healer, would you need to know all the details about everyone else's patients?
I want to mark this for classified because I think I have an idea of what that riot of dragons are.
Okay.
And then Mira goes for the gullet, saying, exactly, now tell me what the fuck is going on between you and Dane.
Ha ha ha.
And Violet tells her, I needed to change in order to survive. He wouldn't let me change. I got his friend Amber killed. She was a wing leader, and honestly, everything with Zayden just pushed us so far apart that I don't know how to repair our friendship. Not to what it was, at least. The execution of the wing leader is common knowledge. You didn't get her killed. She got herself killed by breaking codex. Is it true Ryerson saved you that night? And I find it so interesting that so many people are referring to Zayden as Ryerson. Even Mira. Violet doesn't give two shits, that's Zayden.
No, it's better to refer to him as Ryerson because then it's like referring to him as his father, you know?
Yeah. It keeps that separation. And he goes, I hope you know what you're doing.
Then they start going in about Zayden.
Yeah. I hope you know what you're doing there because I distinctly remember warning you to steer clear of that traitor's son. Taryn clearly didn't heed the warning. Let's blame the dragon.
Mm-hmm.
But really, if Xaden hadn't showed up that night, or if he hadn't been sleeping or if I hadn't been sleeping in armor, I can't begin to tell you how many times it saved my life. And then Mira says, yeah, I'm trying to get them to, like, actually do this. I'm glad it worked. It took an entire molting season to collect all those scales.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, and then they talk about how different the families are. Because they're noticing, like, how happy Rhiannon and her family looks. And one of them makes the comment of, but I can remember plenty of nights. No, even I've never seen a family this happy, I admit. Even when Brennan and Dad were alive, we weren't like that. No, we weren't. But I can remember plenty of nights we spent curled around the fire with Dad and that book you love. That book you love.
Mm-hmm.
A book of fables, perhaps?
Mm-hmm.
Which Mira has.
Yep, she did. She brought it with her. And she has it with her. So hopefully, well, we were hoping that Violet would get it here, but I'm not sure that happened. I don't know. Don't know yet.
I don't really remember if they were able to grab it or not.
Don't know yet.
Um,
Then they say, she also starts talking about how Mira kind of empathizes with Venom because she's kind of like, well, not everybody can bond to a dragon, and so I could see how, wanting magic would be, enviable where, you can't have magic because you can't bond to a dragon. So I could understand why people would want that and blah, blah, blah. Interesting.
and then they talk about, like, griffins, and what just makes me glad our dragons are so discerning and our wards keep the griffin riders at bay. Who the hell knows what kind of people those furry creatures choose?
Mm-hmm.
And then Violet asks, have you been stationed with any riders of mated pairs? One, Mira answered, her eyes narrowing. Why? Her nine's erring on the dark path in front of them, just wondering how long they can be separated. Turns out about 3 days is their max, Xaden says as he steps out of shadows.
Xaden's here.
Yikes.
Mm-hmm.
3 days. Didn't take very long.
Nope. Which, we'll go over that in the next chapter, but I'm not sure that it was Xaden or Sigale who decided to come.
Mm-hmm. I think it's very interesting. The next chapter opens up, and I found this opening very interesting. So, for the valor above and beyond the call of duty in the Battle of Strathmore, where her bravery resulted not only in the destruction of a battery behind enemy lines, but also saved the lives of an entire company of infantry, I recommend Mira Sorengale to receive the Star of Navarre. But if the criteria is not met, which I assure you it has been, downgrading to the Order of the Talon would be a shame, but sufficient. We know that Mira only received the Order of the Talon for that battle.
Mm-hmm.
Why was she downgraded?
And it was Major Postum to General Sorengale. So her mother downgraded her.
Mm-hmm. Why?
Boo. I don't know.
I did not catch that on my first read through.
Mm-hmm.
When I looked at it this time, I'm like, hold on a minute. What? For what? For why? But then we're into chapter 27, and they're all kind of sitting in this room around a table, and Riddick goes, so all we do is wait for something to happen.
This is a good chapter. I quite literally have a note that says Mira is teaching, Dane is being dumb, Xaden is being smug.
Yeah. And Violet's fucking over it.
Mira yells at everyone. That's literally like my...
Yeah. I concur.
There's a couple others, the notes, but I'll keep those to myself for now. But anyway, that's like, anyway. So Mira's teaching them. They ended their what do you call it? Tour or their what do you call it? Their patrol a little early because they're not full. They're not fully ready to do a full patrol. It's long.
So, and beyond that, we have a very fun little what I can't think of words. But we have this little section. Dane, Riddick, Liam, Emery, Quinn, and I spent the morning on a 2-hour flight around the surrounding areas with one extra tag-along, Zayden. He's been the worst kind of distraction since arriving last night. Dane won't stop glaring at him and making snide remarks. Mira keeps one eye on him at all times as well, suspiciously quiet since last night. And me? I can't seem to keep my eyes off him. Keep my eyes to myself. There's a palpable energy in every room he enters, and it brushes over my skin like a caress each time our eyes meet. Even now, I'm aware of every breath he takes as he sits next to me, midway down the table. So they're sitting next to each other. And Mara goes, "This is battle brief." Mm-hmm. And she says, This morning was about a quarter of the patrol we regularly fly, so normally we'd just be getting back around now and reporting our findings to the commander. But for the sake of killing time, since we're in this room as the reaction flight for this afternoon, let's pretend we've come across a newly fortified enemy outpost crossing our borders here. And she's like placing little things down on the map. I'm reading this scene, and a lot of these questions that come across, I feel like it's like a D&D setup, and she is the DM, and it's everyone just like, but like, if it just went up overnight, it should be easy to take down.
They're being so annoying. So annoying. And she's irritated.
The player here obviously is not having it.
Yeah, anyway. They're like, well, it would have to be wooden, right, if it was overnight? And she's like, oh my god, like, you have to be so fucking literal. She's like, fine, what if they already occupied a stone, an already established stone?
And then someone's like, but the civilians didn't ask for help? Like, protocol states. Amir's like, listen, everything you're taught at Biscayeth is theory. You analyze past attacks, and you learn those very theoretical combat maneuvers. But things out here don't always go according to plan. So why don't we talk about all the ways things can go sideways so you know what to do when they do, as opposed to arguing that the keep shouldn't have fallen. Mm-hmm. Like, shut up and just play along.
I also like how she goes, how many of you have been called out as third years? And Emery and Zayden raise their hands. Dane looks like his head is about to explode. That's not correct. We're never called out into service until graduation. Like, what the fuck, Dane? Like, you really gonna tell them that they haven't when they clearly, like, have? And Zayden presses his lips in a tight line, giving him a sarcastic thumbs up. Yeah, all right. Emery laughs. Just wait until next year. I can't count how many times we're the ones sitting in those very rooms with them in the Midland forts because their riders have been called to the front for an emergency. The color drains from Dane's face. What a pussy.
He's not ready for the front line.
Jesus Christ. She goes, now
this makes me even more upset.
Yeah. And then she's like, okay, so what are we going to do? Or she's basically laying down the scenario. What are we going to do? And Liam goes, they don't teach that to first years. She's just like, oh my God, can we just do this? Like,
well, beyond that, like, this is Liam, right? And his marks are like showing he's not making a point to cover them up. Mira,
sees him.
Isn't a fan.
Yeah.
Of marked ones. Violet clears her throat. They eye each other down, and without saying anything, she basically goes, "Don't fuck with my friends."
She also Violet notes in her head that this is the first, like, this is the first, like, Zayden's the first of the rebellion children to get through. So there aren't any current rebellion children in service. So Mira has not had to come across very many. So this is like, for lack of a better, what do you call it? Like way to describe it, it's a basically like segregation. This is like the first time that, like, let's say Mira has come across someone with a relic, and she's not reacting well to it. She's like, oh,
she has to learn how to trust these people because they are going to be on the front lines with her. There's no denying it. And this is Violet saying, hey, shut up, they're my friends, like, don't fuck with them, because if you do, you're fucking with me.
Exactly. So that, whatever. So then there's games in 2 weeks. Oh, okay. All right. Dane says that he's going to be in command there, and then Liam goes, our wing leader is in here. I would say let's put him in command. We can pretend I'm not here, just for the sake of the exercise. Xaden sets his dragon on the table and leans back in his chair, draping his arm across the back of mine. A move that makes Dane grit his teeth. Give Atos here the position we all know he craves. Don't be a dick, I whisper. You haven't even seen me start to be a dick. My head turns so fast that it swims and my mouth drops open as I stare at the side of Xaden's face. That was his voice in my fucking head. He turns, the golden flecks in his eyes catching the light, and I swear I hear him laugh in my mind, though his lips are closed, tilted in a pulse-quickening smirk of his. You're staring. It's going to get awkward in about 30 seconds if you don't stop. How? I hiss. The same way you talk to Sigale. We're all gloriously and annoyingly linked. This is just one of the perks, though I'm starting to wish I tried this sooner. The look on your face is priceless. He winks and turns back to the table. He fucking winked. I love it. That's one of my favorite parts. Because Xaden's
so they can communicate.
Xaden's starting to play with her, and I love it. It's like he's actually... his personality's coming out, and his bravado, his like fake bravado is starting to drop a little bit because he can be more private with her. I like it.
How are things going to get awkward in 30 seconds? What was he going to do?
There is that.
I don't think it was going to get awkward just by her staring at him. Xaden, what were you thinking, baby boy? But then Jane's trying to give the power back. You're the wing leader. And Xaden goes, I'm not even supposed to be here. But if it makes you feel better for the purpose of war games, you'd be getting your orders from your section leader, Garrick. Which he'd get from me. You'll be carrying out your maneuvers as a squad for the good of the wing. Just pretend I'm another member of your squad and use me as you wish, Atos. And Mira's watching this play-by-play with a raised bout. Mira knows something fishy's going on.
She's literally like,
what the fuck? And then, why are you even here? No offense, but we weren't exactly expecting senior leadership. You're more than aware that Sigale and Taryn are mated. 3 days? You couldn't make it 3 days? And that's where we get the little tidbit. You never considered that it was you I couldn't stay away from.
Yeah, because Violet says it has nothing to do with him. It's up to Taryn and Sigale. And then he says in her mind, you never considered that it was you I couldn't stay away from. And then she jabs her arm. So, like, it looks like they're fighting. Like, what the fuck? Like, the last thing that he said was... you're more than aware that Sigale and Taryn are mated, and then I don't know, 30 seconds later she smacks him. Like, I don't get it. In the room, it probably looks weird.
See it like playful as well, though. But he goes, now you'll give our little communication secret away if you can't keep from being so violent.
And then she goes, I need to figure out how the hell he's doing this so I can mentally argue back. She can't handle the fact that she can't say anything back.
Yeah, and then Dane's all butthurt.
Yeah.
But anyways, there's so much going back and forth. Mira goes, enough. The other, cadets, not even cadets anymore, the other, freaking leaders,
Actual
graduated
writer,
writers,
an actual writer.
are like, they're eating this up. This is the best shit they've seen all week.
Do you want to just measure? It would be faster.
And then Violet's like, fuck this, we need to get to work. Mira has the ability to extend a shield if the wards are down. So the first thing I would do is send her to scout the area with Tiny. We would need to know if we're dealing with an infantry or griffin riders. Good, now let's assume they are griffins. And then Violet goes, you want to do your job? To Dane. I mean, how can you forget? You are the squad leader. Is beyond me.
That is the first time she has ever dared to be like that to Dane, and I am fucking eating it up. Like, that is such a thing that would come out of, like, fucking Xaden's mouth, and it came out of Violet's mouth.
Yeah. And they go on, and somebody then, like, is questioning... Oh, Quinn asks about Dane's signet. And Dane goes, above your pay grade.
Mm-hmm.
Glancing around the table and skipping over Xaden, then makes the rounds again, finally sighing. Any ideas? And then she's like, wait, they're making him keep it a secret. And then Violet goes, sure. And she picks up Xaden's dragon. You stop ignoring that you have an incredibly powerful shadow wielder at your disposal and ask him to black out the area so no one sees you land. She's not wrong, Mira agrees, but her words are clipped. You can do that? Dane begrudgingly looks at Xaden. Are you seriously asking? I just wasn't sure you could cover an area like... And then Xaden fucking has to prove him wrong.
I see him just going like this. Like, just like really like lazily like... And then the whole room is in shadow.
You see it with a hand. Mm-hmm. I see it with a middle finger.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's funny because he whispers into her like head, relax, it's just me. And then a ghost of a touch skims her cheek. So I'm wondering if he actually reaches out and touches her. You know what I'm saying? Or if it's his shadow.
Yeah.
Touching her.
And then we kind of go back into what signets are. What Hetzegail said about signets. It's a reflection of who you are at the core of your being. It makes sense. Mira is protective. Dane has to know everything. And Xaden has secrets. Mm-hmm. I hope you didn't get any ideas while we were in the dark.
She says to Taryn, get him out of my head. And Taryn goes, you'll get used to it.
But, yeah. And they kind of walk her through almost how to talk back to him.
Mm-hmm. But then Mira takes Dane and Xaden and her into a room and sound shields them, and Dane goes, sound shield, nice. She goes, shut up. And then she starts to yell at them. She's like, what the fuck, to all of them, basically.
Oh shit, she's pissed.
Yeah, and he calls her Mira.
Lieutenant Soaringale.
Mm-hmm. You are blowing it, Dane. Like, how badly do you want this job next year? She points at Xaden. Don't forget that you have grown up about 10 feet apart and you are blowing it. Because what? You're pissed that Violet bonded his dragon's mate? Yeah. She puts it all in perspective.
She's never been one to mince words. Mm-hmm. He's the worst possible thing for her. Like, why are we talking about Xaden like he's not in the room? And Violet, for that matter.
Mm-hmm. She says, oh, I'm not arguing that. She leans into his space. So she's also on a stair, so she's like over him. But there's nothing anyone can do about the choices of dragons. They don't bother with the opinions of humans, do they? But whatever is going on between the two of you, the finger swings between Daina and me, it's fucking up your squad. If I can see it after 4 days with you, then they can sure as hell can tell. And if I'd known you were going to be such a hard ass with zero flexibility for the things she can't control, I never would have told her to find you after crossing the parapet. She glances at me and back to him. You two have been best friends since you were 5 years old. Figure your shit out. Haha, older sister.
And then she lets Dane leave and then goes into Zayden. As for you, is this what she can expect next year? Ato's being an asshole? Probably. Mated dragons. And then again, this whole mated dragon thing. Because you can't live that way, Violet. You'll be the one who ends up missing the trainings you need because he's the more powerful of the two of you right now. But if you don't get to focus on your trainings, then that's how it'll always be. You won't ever become who Taryn can push you to be. Is that what you're after, Ryerson? Mira, you're wrong about him. Listen to me, he might wield shadows, Violet, but give him his way and you'll become one. Which, again, she bonded two fucking dragons.
That's what I'm trying to say, like,
What about Indarna?
yeah. And then she tries to tell her, do you know why he hates our mother so much? Why the kids like him are put on the parap? And then he interrupts her. I'm right here.
Yeah,
Zayden
I'm right
interrupts
here.
her, rising to the same step to stand at my side. In case you didn't notice, you're kind of hard to miss. You're not listening. His voice lowers. I am here. Taryn didn't drag her back to Basgiath. He didn't break through her shields and pour his emotions into her. He didn't demand she fly across the fucking kingdom. Your sister is still right here, and I'm the one who left my post, my position, and my executive officer in charge of my wing. She is not missing out on shit. True.
Yeah, and then what shit is she going to miss out But whatever, next year. We'll figure it out. I reach her hand and squeeze. Mira, he's taken every spare minute he has to train me on the map for challenges or take me flying in hopes I'll finally figure out how to keep my damn seat without Taryn holding me in place. You can't keep your seat? No.
Yeah, big problem.
How the hell can you not? Because I'm not you. But you look so much stronger now. My joints and muscles are stronger because Imogen makes me lift these horrible weights, but that doesn't fix me. No, I didn't mean it like that, bye. Because there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing anyone can do about the way I'm made. She's getting better, Zayden offers. The first few weeks were disastrous. Hey, he caught me before I hit the ground. Barely. But you don't have to trust me. Good, because I don't. Mm-hmm. God damn it, Mira. And then, Griffins are on their way.
Yeah. So, it's this big thing where I actually love what kind of happens here. Mira wants Violet out and safe. And she tells Zayden basically, I will trust you if you get her out of here. And Zayden takes that opportunity to gain Mira's trust. He's like, okay, I got this.
Yep.
And he does it kind of against Violet's will a little bit. Violet doesn't want to leave, but like, whatever.
No, because she thinks that Taryn is the greatest asset to them, but she's not. Mm-hmm. He can't be at his full power right now because he's still holding her in her seat.
I also don't really understand that. Like, I feel like that's a poor argument because how much power does it really take for him to create bands of energy to hold her there? I mean, I guess maybe it takes a mental load on him. Like, if she doesn't allow him to hold her there, then he has to think about if she falls off. You know what I mean? Like, that's, like, difficult. Yeah. But how much energy does it really take from him to hold her there?
We're talking about Taryn here.
Yeah, that's what I don't really buy that it takes so much energy that it's a problem.
But that's been, like, everyone's go-to
argument.
Argument. Mm-hmm. Anyways.
Including Violet's.
Yeah. Including her.
Anyways, so they do get her out of there. It's a big fight. And it's kind of romantic in a angry way.
Mm-hmm. Because he's, like, holding her up to, like, basically throw her, in essence, onto Taryn.
He puts her arms in a T, and then he ducks down so that Taryn can grab her.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he goes, arms up, hold tight, fuck you. Mm-hmm. And then she's arguing with Taryn now, like, you have to take us back. And he goes, I've done everything I can and will not risk your life. Now hold on so we can outfly them.
And then also it says, I look over my shoulder and see Xaden and Sigil approaching quickly, and farther behind them, hundreds of feet below, a dozen griffins envelop the keep.
Hundreds of feet below. Also, a keep. And they were just talking about griffins taking over a keep. What?
What? Yeah.
What? Which takes us into 28.
Yes.
And Violet has one thing on her mind. Is my sister alive?
And this is like 2 days
And
later.
Yeah. And it's technically above her classification to be told that information. But Markham tells her anyways after she begs and pleads and begs and pleads and does not really let up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But she is alive.
Mm-hmm. And Xaden, as soon as she finds out, Xaden disappears, but Dane hugs her, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Well, Dane hugs her first, and then Xaden disappears.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's a little bit jealous.
Then she figures out this mental connection, so she started asking Xaden questions in his mind randomly because she wants to get to know him. She's sick of his elusiveness, so she asks him, what's your favorite food? Is that it? Favorite food? Yeah. I just feel like favorite food is a weird...
I think so.
Anyway, chocolate cake. Stop being weird.
Well, no. No, the first thing she tells him is to fuck off.
Where is that?
He goes, I'm on Kindle, so it's going to be a different page.
Mm.
But guess you two had the same idea. Not long, Xaden answers.
Oh.
Hours, I say simultaneously. Before the hug and all. Dane asks, like, are you hungry? Do you want to get breakfast? No, dumbass. She doesn't, obviously. Xaden Snide's commentary fills my head. Knock that the fuck off. I toss back. No, thank you. Look who figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then after, it's like a game of 20 questions. I want to get to know you.
Mm-hmm. And then she asks how she knows Liam. We were fostered together, but she already knew that. And then she says, I don't know you. Tell me something real. Something like what those silver scars on your back are from. And he goes, why do you want to know that? Why don't you want to tell me? Are you pushing for a reason? And so then he doesn't answer. So then Taryn asks him, are you pushing for a reason? And she goes, can you give me an answer, or can you give me a reason not to? He cares for you. That's already hard enough for him. He cares about keeping me alive. There's a difference. Not for him there isn't. So if he cares...
And that's a big detail about Xaden.
Yeah, if he cares about keeping you alive, he cares about you.
Yeah. And then... Are we into war games?
Yeah, we are. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they go up against First Wing first. And Jack Barlow hasn't forgotten that she put him in the infantry.
Yeah.
So we're into war games.
So...
And they're trying to figure out if they're going to be on the offense or the defense. And so she asks Xaden through their little mind link. And he's like, I'm a little busy. Oh no, am I distracting you?
Yes.
Shit, am I flirting?
It's just...
Come on, you're taking forever. Give a girl a hint.
Both. So, and then she notices that he doesn't, like, block her out, and he can. So she's kind of like, okay, I'll give him a little bit of space, because, like, he gave her an answer, but it's still confusing. So they know that, they learn that someone else comes out, and they say offense or defense, and they say both. So they learn that Squad 1, or whatever, has a egg that they need to capture. But they have also been given a green flag to defend. And I think it sounds like it was Xaden's idea to give Dane a flag to defend, which I think is kind of funny.
Well, and they also know that, like, eggs are worth more points if you capture them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so Xaden says, I'm hoping Dane learned something from your sister's lesson at Montserrat, which is why he gave him the flag, I guess.
with no outpost. Like, there's no place for the flag to be hidden. They have to keep it on them.
Oh my God. Okay, please go down to the next part that you probably are dying as much as I am too as well. So Rhiannon and her are walking onto the flight field. And
Uh-huh.
then what?
Are we talking about the saddle?
Mm-hmm.
The saddle! So Taryn comes into full view sporting a beautiful saddle across his back. I heard it's all the fashion. Taryn brags. That's a saddle.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ron's like, that's cool. That's what that is. And by the look, and it looks way more comfortable than Fergie's bony spine. I'll tell you that. See you up there. Like, Ron's like, all right, okay, cool, awesome. Like, good for you, girl. And Violet does not want to use the saddle.
Mm-hmm.
She says, it's not allowed. Taryn goes, excuse you? I decide what's allowed and what's not.
Mm-hmm.
There's no rule that says a dragon can modify their seat to serve their rider. You have worked just as hard, if not harder, than every rider in this quadrant. Just because your body is built differently than the others doesn't mean you don't deserve to keep your seat. It takes more than a few strips of leather and a pommel to define a rider.
This is the Jason Statham daddy moment in the middle minivan.
And then Zayn has to come up.
Yeah.
And then Zayn's like, he's right.
Mm-hmm. No one asked you. She's
and-
such a bitch to him.
No, really. No, but really. But we also learned that, like, Xaden has been working with Taryn to make this. There were other prototypes. The first models were unacceptable, and you had the gall to pinch my chest scales when clumsily assembling it this morning. Taryn's not very happy at Xaden right now. And he doesn't know how to, if it works. Because he says theoretically. She goes, theoretically? Well, he wasn't amicable to me giving it a flight test. You can ride me when the flesh rots off my bones, wing leader.
I love how, like, if it's your dragon, it's your dragon. Like, no one else is riding your dragon.
Not even a mated rider.
And then she's trying to find a reason to not wear it, and Xaden goes into her, or not use it, and Xaden goes into her head, fuck, that stubborn, feisty look always makes me want to kiss you.
And you say this now, where people will see if you actually do. When did I ever give you the impression that I give a fuck what people think about me? I only care what they think about you. Because he's a wing leader. Nothing is worse than cadets gossiping that you slept your way to safety. And then mount up, we have a battle to win.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that.
Oh, Dane comes by.
Dane says, is that a saddle? And Taryn goes, no, it's a collar, snapping his teeth together. Dane backs up a few steps. Yes, have a problem with it? Dane, no. It looks at Xaden like he's being unreasonable. Why would I have an issue with it? I'm fine with whatever keeps Violet safe, if you haven't noticed.
But it would be even more awkward if I kissed you now, huh?
Yeah.
The next time we kiss had better not be just to piss off Dane.
Next time, huh?
Yes, thank God.
So, oh my God.
A ladder?
They had thought about a ladder, but they decided it would make them too vulnerable. Oh my gosh. So then, and Darna decides she also wants to battle, so she's worried that she's just, like, too easy to be seen because she's golden, so she makes her roll around in the mud. We also find out that the saddle couldn't have been made out of leather across the chest because obviously the chest gets really hot when he blows fire or takes fire on the chest, so the saddle would just burn right off. So they had to make that part metal.
But But yet where she sits is leather because if it was metal, she would burn.
Yeah. So then she goes, I don't bother pointing out that the only fire we'd be taking is from other dragons, which is a problem that doesn't exist since griffins are all beak and claw. Instead, I find the straps for my thighs unbuckling. I highlighted that.
Let's mark that for classified.
Yeah, I highlighted that. So anyway, so this saddle holds her in, essentially. It holds her legs, and then there's a strap across her thighs. So this battle starts. I don't know. What do we want to say about this?
So as this battle's going on, you have Violet and Xaden communicating through their mind link. That is where a lot of this communication is happening, and we're seeing right now that it is a very useful skill for battle. They point out, like, this is where the egg is being guarded. And First Wing is out for blood.
Mm-hmm. Jack is there.
She tells Xaden where the egg is. Jack is there. And Liam gets stabbed.
Yeah, he's fighting with Jack, right? He gets stabbed with a sword through his abdomen.
And he is falling. And I guess that Liam's dragon isn't going to be able to catch him in time.
Yeah. Taryn dives, and they're not going to be able to catch him in time. So she checks with Andarna, and Andarna says, do it. Freeze time. But focus on everything.
Focus on everything.
Except you and Taryn. So she does that. She's able to catch Liam. She unfreezes and then drops his body to Rhiannon.
Mm-hmm.
Then she goes after Jack. She's pissed.
Yeah. So she is ordering whomever to climb, and Taryn goes, "You will not unseat yourself."
Yeah.
And she's feeling a power sizzle in her chest. And they're going back and forth. That sizzle of magic. And she thinks that this is her about to, like, combust.
Burn out.
Because she hasn't
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because she hasn't manifested a signet yet. Faster, the sizzle of power, the magic grows to a lethal swirling vortex of energy. And
she's trying to
my feet
climb.
are still firmly grounded.
She's trying to climb to a place where if she's gonna explode, she might as well explode to also kill Jack. That's what, like, her, like, thought process is. So she's trying to get close enough to him that if she explodes, she takes him out too.
Yeah. Power crackles above me, swirls around me, wraps around along my feet below me. I am the sky and the power of every storm that has ever been. I am the sky and the power.
I am infinite.
I am infinite. A scream rips from my throat just as lightning splits the sky with a terrifying crack of thunder. Jack falls down the mountainside in an avalanche of rock that I know he can't survive.
And from
I need to take a minute really quick.
And from the way Bade cries beneath us, she knows it too. And then
I just need to take a minute with that line.
Taryn roars with the unmistakable sound of pride. Lightning wielder. Mm-hmm. Boom. But we already knew that, didn't we? Because she already manifested a while ago.
She might have manifested some lightning when kissing somebody.
Yeah, and Xaden knew it a while ago too.
Xaden had his suspicions. Jack is dead. I killed him.
Yeah, she's all upset about Jack dying. You know, whatever. And Darna's proud. And Darna's very proud about the fact that she is hers because she feels guilty about the fact that Jack is dead. She's the only one who actually empathizes with her and actually is very, like, proud about the fact that she's not only saved her friend, but is like, upset about the fact that she took a life.
Yeah.
So.
And she says, "I'm proud you're mine, even if I need a bath." Mm-hmm. She doesn't like being dirty.
But yeah, she's like, I killed someone, I'm all upset, she's whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dane pulls her to his chest.
Is trying to pacify her, is touching her so he can make sure it was her that did the lightning.
Yeah, I know.
Seeing those recent
He
memories.
says, I know, I know. He presses a kiss to the top of my head. And if you don't want to use that kind of power again, you don't have to. Get the fuck away from her with that nonsense. Zayden pushes Dane's chest and tugs me out of his arms and then grips my shoulders, turning me to face him. You killed Barlow. I nod. Lightning is your signet, isn't it? And then she says, yes. I thought so, but I wasn't sure until I saw you take that tower down. So yeah, he figured it out the day that they kissed, and it freaked him out for some reason, and I don't really know why. Do you? Is that a classified thing?
No, I don't know why either, but I do have he rips her out of Dane's arms. He and this can somewhat maybe lead into classified. He rips her out of Dane's arms as Dane is holding her and kissing the top of her head because maybe he doesn't, people maybe he also knows what Dane's signet
He
is.
does. He actually says it right here.
Yeah.
He says that he knows it right
Which
here.
means
Because he says it, and
he is very much making sure Dane doesn't see something he's not supposed to
yeah.
see.
So he says it. What was it? She's freaking out, and he says that he knows what Zane's or what Dane's thing is, and he goes, "Shut up, Dane. I've known for a long time," or something like that.
Yeah, because she starts to say it. I don't want this, I blurt. Rhiannon can move objects through space, and Dane has retrocognition. Hey, Dane snaps. You think I didn't know that already? Zayden barks over his shoulder. Kiori can bring his imagination to life, and Sawyer can bend metal. Mira can extend wards. Everyone has a signet that isn't just useful for battle. They're tools for good in the world. And what the hell am I, Zayden? I'm a fucking weapon.
You don't have to use your power, Vi. Ugh, Dane. Fuck you.
Stop fucking coddling her. Which is exactly what Zayden says.
Yeah, she's not a child. She's a fucking grown woman, a rider. Start treating her like one, and at least give her the decency to give her truth. You think Melgren or any other general, to include her own mother, would let her sit on a power like this? It's not like she can hide it. Not the way she just demolished one of the practice forts.
You want her to be just like you, Dane argues, a cold-blooded killer. Soon you'll be telling her that it's all right, that you get used to the killing. The blood in my veins is as warm as yours, Atos, and if it's my job you want next year, then you better start understanding that you never get used to killing. But you do understand that it's necessary. This isn't primary school. This is war. And you heard me say it once before, but the ugly truth, those not on the front line choose to forget, is that there's always body bags in war.
And then he actually does actually put it into perspective in a real more realistic way. He says, by defending invading armies before they get a chance to hurt civilians, you want to keep Rhiannon's nephew alive in that little border village. This is how. You want to keep Mira alive when she's behind enemy lines. This is how. You are not just a weapon, Sorengil. You are the weapon. You train this ability, own it, and you'll have the power to defend an entire kingdom. He smooths back more wind-blown tendrils of my hair behind my ears, clearing my vision so I have no excuse but to see the honesty in his eyes. When he's sure that I'm not going to argue further, he looks to his side. Rhiannon, can you get her back to the Citadel?
Yeah.
And then we learn that Taryn can take the saddle off himself because he goes, you really think that I would let them design something I couldn't take off myself?
Oh my god.
And then
Rhiannon's like, how the hell did you get to Liam? Like, I wasn't going to be fast enough. What the fuck happened?
she lies to her for the first time.
Taryn's just really fast. And Taryn tells her, don't feel guilty that you cannot tell her. The secret belongs to Dragonkind, not you.
Mm-hmm.
No one has the right to risk our hatchlings, not even you, Silver One. Mm-hmm. Which, again, I find that very interesting that he makes that a point, not even you. Who is she?
Mm-hmm.
What is she?
Mm-hmm. What? Yeah, and then, yeah, Liam cheated death today, blah, blah, blah. This is when it gets very interesting. We're about to get very hot and heavy up in here.
Ooh, it's time for some fun.
So, Violet is once again armorless in a nightgown, throwing daggers into a target in her room, just processing what happened today. And she gets a knock at her door. She tells him to come in. She doesn't think it's Xaden, but she realizes it's Xaden. Oh, a knock at her door.
Yeah. A knock at the door. It's my brother. We can keep going.
And so, anyway, she realizes that it's Xaden, and it's whatever. She's fine. They have more conversation a little bit. Let's see. He didn't come to lecture her, but I can definitely see that you're not wearing your armor. No one is going to be ridiculous enough to attack me now, not when I can kill them from 50 yards away. Do you think it works inside? I mean, how does someone wield lightning if there's no sky? Keeping my eyes locked on his, I fling the dagger at the target. The satisfying sound of split wood tells me I've hit true. Fuck, that's hotter than it should be. He pulls a deep breath. I think that's something you'll have to figure out. So he says, she's asking if he's going to train her. And he goes, I have no clue how to train you. Like, that's not my signet. She says, why are you here? And he goes, because I can't stay away. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You told me to get over myself, remember? So why the fuck would you care if I was upset? I told you that you'd have to develop a stomach for killing. I never said you should get over it. He says, I'm not mad Jack is dead. We both know he's wanted to kill, or she says, I'm not mad Jack is dead. We both know he's wanted to kill me since the parapet, and eventually he would have. I'm mad that him dying changes me. I tap my chest right above the heart. Dane told me that this place strips away the niceties to reveal who someone really is. I just keep thinking that when I was younger, I asked my dad what would happen if I wanted to be a wing leader like Mom or Brennan, and he told me that I wasn't like them, that my path was different, except this place has peeled away my civility and niceties and turns out my power is more destructive than any of theirs. It's not like I can blame this power on Taryn, not that I would. Signets are based on the riders, just fueled by the dragons, which means that this has always been there under the surface, just waiting to be unleashed. And to think, all this time I had this tiny driving hope that I would be like Brennan, that I would have that would be a little twist in my little fable, that my signet would be mending, and I could put broken things back together. But instead, I'm made to split things apart. How many people will I kill with this?
Yeah, and through this, we also learn more about the Tirish, right? And the marked ones being, because she says, none of you wanted to be here. I glance, pointing at the rebelling relic on his neck. You're doing just fine. He looks at me, really looks at me, and it feels as if he sees entirely too much. Interesting. Most of us would burn this place to the ground if we had the option, but every marked one wants to be here because it's our only path for survival. It's not the same for you. You wanted a quiet life full of books and facts. You wanted to record the battles, not be in them. There's nothing wrong with you. You get to be angry that you killed a man today. You get to be angry that that man tried to kill your friend. You get to feel however you want within these walls, but not outside of them. We're writers, so do whatever you need to get it out. You want to yell? Yell at me. You want to hit something? Hit me. I can take it. Come on, he whispers. Show me what you've got. And she does.
I actually think that that's probably a similar little speech that he gives to all of the like tearish kids. Like, if you want to yell at something, yell at me. If you want to hit some, like, I think that's probably like what he probably tells like Liam, Imogen, all those people, because they can't have emotions outside because he's responsible for all of them. So my guess is he probably has said something similar to all of them.
That entire dialogue also was very Grey's Anatomy coded for me. Pick me, choose me, love me.
Yeah. That's how I was feeling about it. So then, yeah, I mean, they proceed to destroy the entire room except for the bed. They proceed
And have fun doing so.
They proceed to have sex in every uncomfortable position I can think of. In every
And the thunderstorms happening outside.
Yes. And all I can think of is, wow, this must be so good that it doesn't even matter that all of it is so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Anyway, so,
100%.
but before it even starts, he's like really making sure this is really what we want. This is really what we want. Yes, 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 blah, blah, blah. Is there anything else that happens before this?
I don't think there's really anything else that happens before it. As it's going on, like we already said, lightning strikes are happening.
He puts out fire in the room.
Shadows.
Yeah, because she
shadows are around.
she can indeed put lightning strikes inside because she catches the curtains on fire, and he smothers them with shadows. They break the armoire, they break the desk, they break the chair, they break the target, they break everything. Yeah.
And she asks him to stay the night with her, not to leave.
And he does.
And he does.
But he's also very,
and he tells her,
this is not like a romantic thing. But it's funny because it's like everybody knows it is.
Well, so she goes into the scars on his back, right? Which we already alluded to this, but to get into it a little bit more. There's 107 scars. Which, that's the number Liam mentioned. That's how many kids are under the age of majority carry the rebellion relic. Yeah, what happened, Zayden? I saw the opportunity to make a deal, and I took it. What kind of deal leaves you with scars like this? The kind where I take personal responsibility for the loyalty of the 107 kids of the rebellion's leaders left behind. And in return, we're allowed to fight for our lives in the Rider Squadron instead of being put to death like our parents. I chose the chance of death over the certainty. So if any of them betray Navarre, I lift my brow. Then my life is forfeit. The scars are a reminder.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Liam says he owes him everything. I'm so sorry that happened to you, especially when he wasn't the one who led the rebellion. You have nothing to apologize for, which, not exactly, but we learn more about that later. Stay, and he stays. We both know this is a bad idea, then it's our bad idea.
Only within these walls.
Only within these walls. And he tells her, like, don't fall for me.
Already happened. Oh well.
A little too late. And she asked when, why did you guess I could wield lightning? I thought you did it the first night Taryn channeled power to you, but I wasn't sure, so I didn't say anything. Really? When? The first time you kissed me. Which, like, half of me's a little upset that we didn't have the two words arrogant ass.
Mm-hmm. Which also kind of alludes a little bit later in the chapter too, which is funny. Which we kind of get more that satisfaction in a little bit. So she wakes up and let's see, Professor. So Liam's in the what do you call it, infirmary. So she gets a knock at the door. So she's not expecting anybody, but it's Professor Carr, and she's like, "Oh shit." She can't go to the archives.
We have work to do.
Yeah, she can't go to the archives now that she's a lightning wielder because they're afraid of her, that she's gonna burn everything, which kind of sucks. Anyway, she's a little bit afraid of Professor Carr because she saw someone snap his neck, or she saw him snap one of the kids' necks. She talks to him about that, and he's just like, well, I'm not going to kill you. You're too powerful. So it's very clear that Professor Carr teaches or treats them like they're assets, not like anything other than just like pieces of power, you know?
Carr also has an orange dragon.
Good.
I just need to point that out.
Good. Yes. He also packs her breakfast because she's gonna need it. They take her super far away to like a place where she can't burn anything and it's cold because the last lightning wielder reported that he overheated a lot when they overheated.
Yeah, and this is when we get the whole your dragon doesn't trust me, and considering he's the most powerful of them in the quadrant at the moment, but not the continent, Terran admits.
Yeah. Oh, it also says, I'll never understand why mind reading is a death sentence. I place my hand on Terran's leg, like I can absorb his strength, even though I already feel it flowing through me. Because knowledge is power. As a general's daughter, you should know that. We can't have anyone walking around with unfettered access to classified material. They're a security risk to the entire kingdom.
Yet Dane's walking around.
He says, and yet Dane is living, because Atos will be useful to them as long as they can keep him under their control, Taryn says. Tane. So, anyway, they go, they're trying to practice the lightning. He's like, what is it that you were doing the first time you were able to wield?
Should I get the wing leader?
Yeah, Taryn says, should I get the wing leader? She goes, shut up. That's one of the best lines of the whole book. And so Xaden says, are you having problems? Why are you so far away? And so we learn that he can tell how far away she is. She's like, I'm having a hard time wielding. He floods her mind with images of them last night. And
his memories.
Yes. And suddenly she can wield.
Just on this topic, get the wing leader is also a color name.
And that's the chapter.
Yeah, and that is the chapter. Not only is that the chapter, that brings us to a close.
So we are about to enter into the classified section. So if you have not read Iron Flame, please exit here. You do not have the proper clearance to enter this section. So please join us again next week. All right, let's go.
For the final week.
Yeah, let's go.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Okay, so I have been obviously on the hunt for the moment when we really see that Jack became Venom, because we do learn in Iron Flame that he became Venom in Fourth Wing, and it is at least very clearly obvious that he is Venom right there on that sparring mat. His eyes are now rimmed red. And what is this electrical current power that he has? Because do we ever learn what his signet is?
No, we do not.
Okay, so we have no idea what the fuck his signet is.
Or if he even had one before he died.
Before he died?
Yeah.
He didn't die.
But he could have.
Or if he even had one before he started channeling. Yeah. And then I wonder, like, if he started channeling from the ground and became Venom before his dragon even channeled to him, did that stop his dragon from being able to channel to him, and therefore he just doesn't have a signet?
Right.
Which would make sense. Or does he have one? Did he start channeling before all this? We don't know. And was he a siphon of some kind? Because it's electricity that he's forcing into her. He's taking her signet, but she hadn't manifested yet. Never mind. Retract that statement really
It's also
quick.
very
She wasn't
weird.
manifesting yet.
It's very, very weird that okay, the if you think about it, the dragon riders very rarely ever
Mm-hmm.
touch the earth. The actual earth.
Mm-hmm.
Like very, very rarely. So having like
Mm-hmm.
Jack having the opportunity to actually like pull energy from the earth is actually like rare. Or do it without noticing. Having someone notice that the dead earth would be difficult.
So I wonder if he pulled from the earth basically as soon as fucking Taryn came into that battle at Threshing.
Hmm. That
Like,
was my thought.
as he was injured, I wonder if he goes, hey, I'm doing this. And I'm still very, because, orange dragons aren't the
Trusted.
best judge of character.
We don't trust
They're
orange
not
dragons.
trusted. They kind of bond sketchy people. They don't seem to, they're the least discerning of all the
I
dragons.
wouldn't be surprised if his orange dragon told him how to become a venom. I would not be
Ooh,
surprised
that's a hot
in the
take.
least. Because who told him how?
So, yeah. Yeah. Unless maybe he also knew of the fables and knew that, like,
Maybe.
they gain power from the earth. I don't, there's just so much that's, like, up in the air about how he fully became one. But that being said, he is channeling, he is trying to kill her with these powers that, like, nobody's seen before. They're very weird. Other people are touching her, they're getting shocked by it.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we know it's him earth channeling because his eyes are going red.
Right.
So it's not him using like his signet powers.
Mm-hmm.
We also know in the end of this book, Into Iron Flame, the Venom are obsessed with Violet
Yeah.
because she's a lightning wielder.
The like electrical current thing seems to be a very important thing.
So that's on that.
But Dana, you do not think she's a lightning wielder.
I don't think so. I don't think her signet is fully lightning. I don't think it's lightning wielder so much as her signet is just power and being powerful, which I know sounds really weird. But in Iron Flame, I don't fucking remember the guy's name, but there is one character where it's the same guy that gives her the like conduit, and he tells her your signet is power.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that her signet just being power in general, because I also want to say there's at some point in Iron Flame, it reads that she's almost able to control Zayden's signet through him as well,
Mm-hmm.
the power to kind of control others. Um, but I'd have to reread Iron Flame to be like 100% this is it. And she has always found comfort in lightning. We heard that at like the beginning of this, not at the beginning of Fourth Wing, as it's thundering and lightning, and she's like, yeah, I would like cozy up and read a book, and this is so comforting to me that it would manifest in the way of like, well, of course she's showing her signet through lightning because it's comforting to her.
Mm-hmm.
It'll bring her the most comfort, but she is just pure raw power, which also kind of makes sense as to why she's having so much difficulty controlling it. She
And it
does
makes
that make
and
sense?
it makes sense because it makes sense as to why it is her signet because she's weak and needs power.
Yeah,
Instead of
she
like
is weak. She needs power. She needs to show herself. Like she has been told her entire life like she's not powerful. She is the weakling. Like she is going to get picked off and now I am pure power. Here I am. Like I am a force to be reckoned with. Um
yes.
I don't know. And it's also like lightning and all and she's describing all of these moments leading up as electricity and her with Xaden, like especially with her power manifesting more so when Xaden is around, that she's somewhat more able to control the
Well, and
lightning.
give me I have a hot take of like, okay, so the couple times that it's happened is like, okay, so a woman feels very powerful when she's like be having relations or being sexual with a man, right? She feels very powerful
Mm-hmm.
because she has that ability to like have an effect on that man, right? So like that her signet
Mm-hmm.
manifesting in those moments where she's feeling very powerful with Zayden makes sense. I
Yeah.
have two things written down from when we were talking. So first is the riot of dragons across enemy lines with Mira.
That was happening at night, right?
It was
Or no, we don't know what time it was
it was
happening.
with Mira when she was when she got her scar.
There's a ride of dragons going over. If it was at night that she was seeing those dragons go over, right by during like a griffin attack and all,
It's probably
it was
Ryerson.
Xaden and them.
Oh,
It was Xaden and them. They were dropping off some
hmm,
daggers.
I know. Yeah, and that's yeah, exactly. That has to be what it is. And then Violet's silver tipped hair. Her mother looking at it like it's a weakness or like it's like a failing or a weakness. It's just really interesting to me, and being really picky about her silver tipped hair.
Yeah, and that's one of those things where it's is does she just see it as
Her illness.
her illness? Is it the aftermath of Okay, let's go into it being the illness, because if we're gonna go down the thought branch of Lilith was Venom at some point, because we've heard about her coming home with red rimmed eyes and da 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 da. We also know in Iron Flame that there are correspondence at the beginning of passages where she has been looking for a cure to Venomism,
Oh,
or to being a Venom, whatever it's called.
oh, interesting.
Yeah, there's like correspondence between Lilith and Nolan.
Mm.
Yeah, Nolan, the mender, of looking for a cure for this. And if she was, I don't know, dying while pregnant um with little baby Violet
Hmm.
and channeled
Yeah.
from the earth to maybe not
Hmm.
die, and then was not only looking for a cure for herself but going, well, I can control it on my end by just channeling through my dragon and not this, but I need a cure because this is now have has affected my baby
She didn't want a
somehow.
baby Venom. Also, here's a question. There is a name that is very close to Venom, and it is Brennan. And what
Yeah,
if she was looking for a cure for Brennan? And also, Brennan's dragon is orange.
is orange.
Hmm.
Is Brennan a Venom?
Hmm.
I'm still under the assumption that Brennan is some weird humanoid wyvern because he has the rune carved into his hands. We've been over this.
Maybe the rune is the cure.
The rune. No, I'm pretty. It could be, but it's the rune that the Venom carve into onyx to control and to create wyvern. And is that how Naolin
Hmm.
was able to fully resurrect Brennan?
I'm telling you. My bet is that I don't know about like General Sorengale, but my bet is that Brennan was a Venom and or was whatever. Um, yeah, for sure.
I know there's also a lot of like I know that after Iron Flame and all, especially with the passages of like, hey, is there a cure? Like, how does this work? A lot of people are like, well, is this um, Sage, the head honcho of the Benin, Violet's dad? Is Violet's dad Malik? I know that Rebecca has confirmed her dad is dead.
Yeah.
Papa Sorrengail is not Malik. Papa Sorrengail is actually dead.
Good. Good. I'm glad he's dead.
So we're gonna put all those theories to rest. None of those are gonna come up because they have been confirmed false.
Okay.
However,
He could still-
is Neolin the big one?
Yeah. He could well also, what are in his notes and where are they? And why are they not burned?
What are in his notes? Where are they? Because Violet knows exactly where they are.
And why does Violet not want them right now?
Maybe she knows she can't get them right now because eyes are on her.
Dude.
They are aware. They are aware of it.
Dude.
Eyes are on her. She can't get them right now. Dane has entered his villain era. So now every time, we are still watching for every time he touches her.
Dane 100%
Because-
just went to his dad after he touched her and said like you're right, Violet.
They kissed.
When he said, "You're right, Violet. You have 2 dragons," he just went to his dad. That's like the first time.
He went to his side. He goes, she kissed Zayden. Like a little
She
fucking
won't
baby.
listen to me, and now she's in league with Zayden, and that's why she'll be like, she's getting too close to Zayden, and that's why he ends up.
She's too close.
That's why he ends up deciding, Senior Atos decides to kill Violet. Fucking Dane.
Is that why they get positioned where they get positioned for the second half of War Games?
Exactly. Because he says,
I am now blaming Liam's death on Dane.
100%.
100%.
Fucking Dane. Okay.
God damn it.
Anything else for the classified section?
I think that's it.
Alright, that's all we have then for you guys. And we will see you next week.
Yeah.
Ta-da!
For the last episode.
Oh my goodness. Crazy.
Ah!
And done.